In today's video, I'm going to go over how to set up sites for every single Rainbow Six Siege map and every single Rainbow Six Siege site for those maps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to share it to a friend who needs to see this. And just a disclaimer, this is just default site setups, so you can play any map or site 1,000 different ways, but this is just trying to get you in the right direction and try to explain the purposes of the site setup and head holes, rotations, and etc. Let's get into it. Let's start off with CEO office. Starting off, you want to go ahead and make a rotation into janitor, and then you want to make a rotation into long desk. This gives you the freedom to go in between sites. Make sure that you make a head hole over here on the top square wall. You can reinforce beside it. I do see some teams doing the opposite and just completely making head holes, so it's really up to you with how you want to do that. Personally, I just like to make a reinforcement so you can have some coverage. Go ahead and reinforce the rest of the CEO walls. Go ahead and make head holes right here on this double wall in the B, and go ahead and reinforce beside it. This is going to give you multiple angles so you can contest the enemies and possibly get some frags down. For example, you can now, swing, you can shoot, you can, I don't know what I'm saying. I like to reinforce this trump wall in front desk, and then you can go ahead and make more head holes. Now, as you can tell, if you actually open up that couch wall right there that I just shot, you can get a long angle for top square all the way from trump if you jump up on the desk. You can go ahead and reinforce this E3 wall. The reason why you're doing this is because you're going to probably have somebody playing here and you don't want them getting a crazy long angle. I would suggest also reinforcing this wall right here so you don't get wall banged while playing long desk. I've seen people make head holes here. You can jump up on the table and get some angles as well. And then reinforce this wall on stock. And if you want to, you can also reinforce this last wall in stock just so anybody that's in stock can't get any angles on you. And then make some feet holes for the jump in on the window. And what's great about this is the person that's playing janitor can see their feet when they run by, and you can light them up. So this is the site setup. Next up, let's go to staff/open area. Starting off, you have to make a good old rotation in between sites, of course, being right here. Sometimes I feel like the shotgun does no damage, and then it does so much damage. Makes no sense. Go ahead and make feet holes for the jump in on this window. Go ahead and reinforce off this single wall right here, and then you can make a head hole right here if you wanted to. This gives you lines of sight, but as you can tell, if someone's sitting out there, they can just fry your ass. So we're gonna go ahead and reinforce this wall right here and limit the amount of angles that they can get, and then boom, you can swing them if needed. Now that's definitely something that you can do, but I do see a lot of people just reinforce this off and then reinforce right here, and then you can make head holes right here, or you can even make it a rotate if you wanted to get back in sight and get cover. These quad walls, you're going to want to reinforce all 4 of them. Now you have 2 reinforcements left over, so here's the problem. You have 2 hatches and you also have these far back walls. So what a lot of people do is they end up actually extending into archives, because not only is it just saving reinforcements, but you can now have more control of the map. So you see people making feet holes here, and usually you would have somebody playing marble, and then anybody that walks in teller's office, they can help the person that's in here playing archives. Person playing archives is usually like a castle. This map is very strategic heavy, so and be a pain in the ass when people don't know actually how to play the game with utility. But the last 2 reinforcements you're gonna want. Yo, if you guys just heard me do that silly little, cat got your tongue thing, let me know in the comments, man. Go ahead and reinforce the janitor hatch. If they get this hatch, you're going to be very screwed, so you want to go ahead and reinforce it, and then reinforce the next hatch in stock trading. Now, when you're playing downstairs in sight, you can actually hold angles for their jump in, but you are going to be in the wide open unless you place a shield down, so just keep that in mind. God, I hate when they put like random metal lights. Like, bro, okay. But yeah, so basically you can watch their jump in, and that's cool. Usually you would have somebody playing up here with a shield, contesting top square, because, you know, you have your person in archives. So, you know, he's going to be watching square with you, and then you're watching stock. And then you're going to have like 2 people in sight, 1 cafeteria in B playing a zombie probably, and then 1 person in A being a cam operator, intel operator, or somebody of a C4. And the last person would probably be sitting around probably marble area, either watching this or watching top marble for you. You just got to watch the skylight. Next up, let's go Teller's Archives. Now this is the least favorite part of the map, in all honesty. It kind of sucks, I'm gonna be honest, so I wouldn't suggest going here, but if you're gonna go here, I would suggest bringing somebody that can make rotates, of course. Make a rotation into archives. Maybe even make a rotation into admin office. And then what you guys can do is you guys can extend it into open area and just contest anybody trying to jump in printer. Reinforce that hatch. Reinforce the single right here. You can also reinforce the hatch above you, which is janitor. And then you're going to want to make a rotation in this far right wall. You're going to probably want to play a shield right there. Make some head holes across the wall. And then reinforce off the right wall here. Now, if you do make a not a rotation, I apologize. Make head holes here. You can watch their walk in. The problem with that is they can repel on the windows or go down the skylight. So for now, I'm just going to reinforce it. And since you guys are going to be playing open area, hopefully, I'm going to make feet holes here so they can't just walk up and, you know, get an easy plant. Heading over to E2, what we're going to do, by the way, E2 is these elevators, elevator 2. You're going to want to go ahead and reinforce off this far wall. Now, the reason why you're going to be doing this is because you're actually going to have a body or a person playing elevator 2 for probably right here, I would say. You're going to have to reinforce this hatch, and you could play a shield in here and contest them. Now, if they do open the hatch, you're going to be screwed and you're going to have to force gunfights, but you could play right here, maybe with an angled shield, and contest people in lobby. Of course, you have that person playing marble, so you're good, and then you have 1 person in open, maybe 1 person cafeteria, and then 1 person playing in sight. So this isn't really a good site, but personally, that's how I would try to play it. Last but not least, let's go over to lockers / CCTV. Okay, so starting out, let's go ahead and make 2 rotations, one being right here for red, and the other being for sight. Now, if you have a mirror, I would suggest making this like a vaultable, or just in general, make this a vaultable. Kind of messed it up, but I don't really care. It's just for example. Now, reinforce this back server wall. If you guys want to, you can make holes in this and then have like a maestro or something like right here by this TV. And it's going to be very difficult for them to open up this wall without wasting like an Ash charge or a Zofia charge and whatever late round. They're not going to be able to get a thermite charge on it because of course you're going to be maestro contesting them. Have somebody in server contesting as well for dirt, because if they get server control too early, you're going to be screwed. You're also going to want to make head holes over here on the wall. Now, whether or not you play a mirror or not, that's up to you. But if you don't play a mirror, you can make head holes here. And then basically you can hold a long angle for the default plant, which would be right there. Something you guys do need to get though is the hatches. There are 4 of them on this side of the map. First one being an open area. Second is going to be, of course, an admin. Third is going to be an elevator. And last but not least is going to be open area. Open area lobby. What the hell? God, I'm a silly little squirrel. Now, the very last hatch, which is very iffy, it depends on your team, is going to be the blue hatch, which is right here. I like to reinforce this hatch if I'm playing inside server. So there's pluses and minuses of playing it or not. The last 3 reinforcements are really up to you, around site or in site. If you want to reinforce this, go ahead. If you want to reinforce this wall, go ahead. If you want to reinforce this wall, go ahead. But you do need 1 reinforcement for this wall. I actually forgot it. Besides that, it's really up to you how you want to use the last 2, or if you don't want to use them, you can make head holes for the main stairs. You can make a rotation right here as well if you want. This just gives the defenders more freedom to be able to get around site. And yeah, this site's pretty default, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, you're probably gonna see it a lot if you play bank. Starting off with army lockers / archives. Don't reinforce this wall like ever, guys. Never ever, because if you reinforce it, they can just rush plant and they have cover, and it's one less angle they have to worry about. I like to make this kind of like a head angle almost. Head over to the closet, make feet holes so you're able to, you know, swing, shoot them. Go ahead and reinforce beside it. Reinforce the main army locker walls. You can also make this hole, by the way. If they try to enter vent, you can have an angle on them. Let's head over to the 90. Now, 90, you're going to want to extend for CC. So you're going to want to make a rotate right here. And this is what I call CC. It's security. You can make feet holes here as well. But don't reinforce these walls, because if you reinforce them, they're now covered and you can't shoot wallbang them through it. Make a rotate in the fountain. Yes, make a rotate in the fountain, just so you're able to retake site and have multiple ways of entry, if that makes sense. Go back into office, reinforce off the 2 triple walls on the side, because you you don't have that many reinforcements, so you need to try to make them work as much as possible. But the reason why you're making the feet holes there is because if they walk in, they don't have a lot of angles that they can hold, and it's super annoying. The single wall, you're going to want to reinforce it as well, just so whoever's playing in office can hold this area down. Reinforce off this south side wall, and then the last A wall would be right here. Now, the last 2 reinforcements are really up to you. You can reinforce this single if you're going to need to. It's, once again, really up to you and how your teammates are playing. I would suggest right here for 90 using one of them, just so whoever's playing in the box won't get wallbanged. And then you can make head holes either right here or right here. Now, I've seen people reinforce this off, and then I don't like doing that. I prefer to do this, but this is also another angle that gives them an angle into you rotating. So just keep that in mind. It's really up to you how you want to do that. But if you reinforce both these walls, or you make a head hole, or you don't reinforce them, they can just get an angle in the sight, because as you can tell, that's beepers. So you got to keep that in mind, because it does give them an angle, but it also gives you an angle to possibly retake. Next, let's go to vent. First, you make a rotate from server into vent. And what I see some people doing is they will make a rotation in the bathroom. So I just want to let you guys know, if you decide to make an extension in the bathroom, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with it, just be sure to reinforce these 2 walls and reinforce the hatch. But let's say that you're not going to do that. Let's just reinforce all these back workshop walls. By the way, do not reinforce these front blue walls, like all of them. I see people doing that. It's such a waste of reinforcements. Now, after you reinforce all of that, you want to go ahead and decide if you're playing upstairs. If you're playing upstairs, pop this hatch. If you're not playing upstairs, reinforce this hatch, okay? Head over to detention and reinforce these 2 detention walls. And the last 4 reinforcements, really depending on how you guys are playing. So if you reinforce this wall, you limit the ability to get wall banged by the enemies from the window. You can also make a hole here and then swing. And this just allows you to play a little bit more aggressive here and have protection without getting wall banged. But if you are going to play vertical, guys, make some holes above just for the window and jump ins. And just this angle as well, if you're playing sight, you can watch them walk in on this door and army lockers, and you can fry them. Heading upstairs, hatches, you do need to get them if you're not going to be extending upstairs. Now, if you are going to be extending upstairs, reinforce this hatch, reinforce this wall, and then you reinforce that wall. Remember, if you're playing upstairs, you would be popping this hatch. The reason why you would be popping this hatch is so you can now drop and rotate back to site. Now, if you guys are also going to be playing upstairs, you guys should probably reinforce these 2 walls. Now, the last 2 reinforcements, you can take them off detention and place them there. But when you're playing upstairs, just make sure you're making every line of sight that you need, or that somebody would need, and you can just basically watch them walking in, watch the window. You can even prep this and then be able to jump out And then you can even prep for what's it called, for the bathroom take. So if they're trying to go for a bathroom or they're trying to plant back workshop, you have vertical control all around. And then you even have angles for blue desk and even back work, as you can tell. Next up, we got bathroom tellers, which is the most common site that you'll see players going. Starting off, make head holes on this single wall right here. Make a vaultable rotate right here. Reinforce these back server walls because you don't want to be getting wall banged and you don't want them to get early entry from this area. After you reinforce those 4 walls, go ahead and go back into site and reinforce these 2 walls. A lot of reinforcing in this video. I don't know why Ubisoft doesn't give you a tool in custom games to just punch something or activate reinforcement punching, and then I can just go up to a wall and then reinforce it like that. But let me stop complaining because there's no point. Make a rotation in between sites, of course. Reinforce the soft wall beside it just so you have cover from the hatch. Reinforce this single wall and the far right single wall. And the last reinforcement should be for the office hatch. Now, head holes would be very, very effective. So if you want to make head holes along this, it is very strong because you can now contest the people trying to jump into sight. So we're gonna go upstairs and we're gonna get the hatch that needs to be reinforced, just in case some of you guys are still learning this game and don't know where the hatch is. But it's as you can tell right here. Last but not least, let's go custom/supply. This is the least common map you're going to be seeing in this game, by the way, but we should definitely go over it. Heading over to passport walls, be sure to just reinforce these 2. You're not going to want to leave these soft because if they get early entry from here, they can play long angles outside. You want to go ahead and reinforce the detention walls. Now, if you guys didn't know, enemies can rappel up here and play, upside down, or, they can just try to shoot you. So just keep aware of that, guys. Make sure to reinforce right here. The reason why you're doing this is because you have cover now and you can try to go back into sight and walk back in. Go ahead and make head holes here. And you can even make a rotation just so you're able to get back into sight. You can make more head holes just along these lines. Now, castle is usually played on this site. Usually you would place a castle at the bottom of metal. And what you would do is you would now make a rotate right here. So you have contesting into sight. For example, if you play top metal, you can now see anybody walking in. If you wanted to, you can make a rotate in this office customs desk, and you can have somebody maybe with a shield or something like faced right here. And what this does is this contests the people that get the passport breach. Of course, your left right here is going to be open for people trying to shoot you, so you should have somebody playing blue desk. Go ahead and barricade this off right here. And we're going to have to go upstairs and reinforce that hatch that's in break room side. Now, extending above, by the way, on this site is really effective because all the vertical play. So if you're wondering where that vertical play would be, let me show you. So this is going to be for passport. Of course, that's the wall if they opened it. And you can even shoot them if they walk in passport right here. That's the door. This is behind the desk. But let's head over to the A site. So if you want to make angles, this is for the beepers. That's for the window and small office. And then, of course, this is A site, so this would be detention. Like I said, vertical play on this is super effective because you have lines of sight on basically everything and everything that's important. So as you can tell, right here, you can basically watch the jump in on the window if they try to plant anywhere. Usually a plant spot that's common is tucked right there on that little lockers. You can even watch the rotation. You can even watch, the door, and then you can even watch bottom metal side. I don't have any more ammo. So, but yeah, these are just the angles that you're going to be seeing a lot, especially by attackers. So you need to know how people are going to, what they're going to see and where they're going to be with their vertical play. That's why I'm also showing all these angles. I have played a lot of strats where I played up here. I usually reinforce these two walls. I castle off that door, this window, and then probably the double right here, and then I'm able to control all of this area. And it's going to be really hard for the attackers to deal with me. Like, they're going to be wasting a lot of time. You can pop this hatch if you're going to be playing up here if you want, or go ahead and reinforce it. Starting with master bedroom / office. So I see people making feet holes here. I prefer to make head holes, but feet holes are very stressful for the people walking up the stairs. So let's just do for now the feet holes. Let's make a rotation in from closet to piano side. Let's make a rotation right here, not right here. I'll show you why here in a second. This gives you cover and to the possibility to retake site. If you guys need to, you guys can literally just make head holes, which I highly suggest for K9 door, which is right there. Reinforce the front 2 main office walls. Now, there's 2 different head holes people do. Let's explain them right here. So there will be people who reinforce this, and then they'll make the head holes here. Now, what that does is that allows you to play piano, and if they try to walk in, you can shoot them and frag them off. But when you do this angle, you're not able to do that now. So when you reinforce this off, this allows the person, whoever's playing close to wall, to try to swing and have protection for the hall, for the stairs, for the box, for etc., right? So I like to do it this way, but whatever way that you like doing it, there's no right and wrong way. That's my problem with people that talk about Siege, is a lot of times they'll just, you know, talk out of their ass and be rude. Let's go ahead and reinforce off closet, because you want cover and not be able to be wallbanged from bathroom. Now, you could make head holes or feet holes right here. Don't make both, of course. And then reinforce off the master bedroom wall, and basically you just have protection from the bathroom window, and then you can actually swing it as well. Now, you have 3 reinforcements left over, which you can do whatever the hell you want with it, or you don't even need to use them. If you're gonna have somebody playing top mezzanine / fireplace, you want to go ahead and just reinforce this first mezzanine wall and then this library box wall. The reason why you're doing this is so they can't wallbang you, and then you would just make head holes right here, and then you're playing in a safe spot right here, and then you can get a pixel and then peek. Next up, let's go over to bar gaming. Make a rotation right here. Make a head hole right here. This site is usually played with a mirror, and usually mirror plays in the stock closet right here, with the mirror being right here, of course. Reinforce off stock as well. You can reinforce the middle right here if you want, so you can actually play behind the bar without getting shot in your ass. Be sure to pop the hatch in sight right here. Now, it's up to you and your teammates if you want to pop this hatch or reinforce it. Personally, I like to reinforce it, but that's just me. I like to make holes for sight right there, and then reinforce. Actually, I don't reinforce bar. My fault. Go up library staircase, reinforce off these 2 double walls right here. And basically what you're going to have is you're going to have one of your teammates run a shield, whether they're Frost, Warden, whoever, and they're going to place their shield on top blue, which is going to be right here. And they're going to be playing this so nobody swings through piano, nobody jumps through the window. You can even have angles on top K9 window. You want to have a reinforcement right here. You can also peek it if you want. Reinforce this single wall again. And then same thing right here. Usually you have a mirror placement right here as well. And then you have head holes to play off of it for if they jump in. And then of course you have the angles for if they try to walk into sight from the hallway. If you want to get even more in depth, if you have all this map control going late into the round, you can have somebody playing vert right here, Mez. This is very situational, but it can be pretty helpful. Basically, though, your main objective playing like this, guys, is to make sure they don't get early library control. It's contesting them from taking piano. It's contesting also the walk-in on site. Just make sure that you have 2 people playing in sight, because what's common is people will either walk down from snowmobile, which you can use the last 2 reinforcements on these 2 walls if you don't reinforce one of the hatches. And yeah, you basically just want to play your angles and whatnot, and play your mirrors and try to protect library as long as possible. Next up, let's go kitchen dining, which is one of my favorite sites. Starting off, reinforce off these two front dining walls. Reinforce this right side dining wall as well. Make feet holes right here. Make a rotation station right here. Make head holes right here. Reinforce beside it. Make head holes for trophy. Now, it's up to you if you want to reinforce one of these or you want to make it completely, like, lineable, if that makes sense. Reinforce off beside. Usually, you would place a mirror on this hard wall, by the way. Make a rotation in the kitchen. Pop the hatch just for some good old rotation ability. And let's go upstairs. So we go up in trophy. And I like to reinforce this wall so I don't get banged from the solar. We want to head over to top mez. Let's go into office, and reinforce the two office walls. Reinforce the wall beside it, of course. And you can make those perfect little silly head holes beside it. Reinforce the wall beside it. The last reinforcement could be for the hatch if you want it, guys. Which the hatch is in this room in master, which is right here. Basically, your main objective right here is contesting this office wall, trying to control office as much as possible for as long as possible. You can have somebody that's playing in sight even watch these holes right here, or these holes as well for the B chassis and for the canine walk-in. If you have to give up all this control, at least you'll have your teammates there to hold it. Because what's very common for this site, guys, is people will open up this main wall, then they'll open up downstairs main wall, and they'll have somebody playing just watching the cross, and then they'll have somebody playing vertical, and it basically pinches everybody out of sight since they can have literally lines of sight on every prominent angle in sight, and they usually open up this hatch, and from there you're just screwed, guys. So you want to try to contest upstairs as much as possible. If you can get really cheeky with some of these lines of sight. You can put a shield here. You can just also just contest them as well if you need to push back. Like, there's a lot you can do. So you're gonna have to think outside the box when playing this site, and it's really dependent on your teammates and how you guys like to play. Last but not least, we got wine cellar / snowmobile. Let's head over and reinforce this front snowmobile car garage. See this wall? I see everybody reinforcing this in lower ranks. I like doing head holes here because I can retake site and aggress a lot easier now on both sides. So for example, if I'm retaking A, I can do all that. Retaking B, I can peek as well, and I just don't have one retaking angle. Now with the rotation, it's really up to you which one you want to do. They both have pluses and negatives. So for example, if I do this one, then I can get peeked from blue if they wallbang. If I make the hole too big, but as you can tell, I made it perfect, so I can't. Make a head hole right here. Either way, if whatever way you make the rotation. The reason being is now I can peek the guy main stairs from right here. Reinforce this back wine cellar wall, and then reinforce this long angle wall. And in terms of this hatch, it's really up to you if you want to reinforce it or not. If you're not going to reinforce it, you can pop it and basically have one of your teammates playing it late round, and they can watch the walk-in and default plant. But you just got to have that control. Now, you need to get this connector hatch or you're not going to win this round. It's super annoying when you don't reinforce this. So just be sure to get the hatch open, guys. Now, if you want to see something cheeky, when you get the hatch or after you get the hatch, punch this barricade and look out here. You'll see drones and you'll probably get 2 to 3. I do it every time. It works every freaking time. But basically, Azami is very strong on this side of the map, by the way. So you can do some really cheeky Azami plays downstairs. You can get very creative. You can place an Azami barrier right here, right on this cheeky little thing right there. If you want to break this thing will goddamn break. You can place one here, and then you can stand up and play the angle. If you want to place one in the middle of the snowmobile, that can cut off some angles as well. Now, this is the most common. Place it right there, and the person coming down blue, they won't be able to look, and it's a pain in the butt as attackers. You can also place one either right there, right there, and then when they come down, it's like their lower half will be exposed, and they won't be able to peek you. But this side of the map is very dependent on who can win their gunfights and who is dumb enough to swing. So that's the problem with this side of the map. Starting off, let's go to gym bedroom. Okay, so starting out on this map, on this side, I mean, you want to make the tiniest rotation possible, because if you make this rotation way too wide, and I think I might have done it too wide, you can actually get a pixel peek and catch the person rotating. From here, you want to make feet holes all across the site. Now, you can place a reinforcement right here if you don't want to get wallbang from this window, but let's just continue on with the round. Let's go ahead and make a rotate in the bathroom, and then reinforce this. Don't reinforce it from this side if you have a mirror, because then they won't be able to place their mirrors. Now, you can place your next two reinforcements on the jacuzzi walls. Very important. Now, this is a very important reinforcement. A lot of people make the rotation on the right side, and the reason why you don't want to do that is because when you make it right here, there's a small pixel that they can actually hold and they can catch you rotating. So I like to just reinforce this off, and it's safe cover for my teammates and I. And a lot of people will place their mirror on the other side of this reinforcement. They'll place the reinforcement right there, and what happens is, see this single wall right here, guys? They will thermite this single wall, and it will break open this wall, because thermite charges have a huge radius. So that's why you always want to reinforce this wall, okay, guys? Go ahead and reinforce this con single. This is a very important wall. Then from here, you want to pop the hatch. And then you have to ask you and your teammates how you're playing this. If you guys are not playing cash and contesting them in server, reinforce this single. If you're contesting and holding cash, make a head hole here. And then you have 4 reinforcements left. And as you know, in cash, there's 5 walls. So we're doing an ultra extend. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to reinforce every single one of these cash walls and then make a rotation on red, and we're going to play that top red rotation. This is committing a lot of utility and a lot of time and manpower. So you guys have to be together. Go ahead and make a rotation on red, and you would place a shield for top red and maybe some Midas around so they had to burn, and maybe place a beeper right here or barbed wire. Basically, this is a very default take now, especially with the amount of people that, you know, push cash over. Late round, if you know someone's on highway balcony, which if you don't know what highway balcony is, it's right here where the windows are. You can get somebody coming over to garage 1 and 2, and then you can peek them. You can peek them, easy frags. There's also tons of vertical play you can play with C4s from below, so keep that in mind. If you're looking to rotate, you can get easy picks if they go cash and server. Next is cash room. Starting off, go into construction, pop this hatch, reinforce this single wall, and the rest of construction, guys, do not reinforce. Don't reinforce these 2 walls, reinforce this con single as well, and then go ahead and make a rotation on red. Go ahead and make head holes on red as well. This will allow you to also swing and peek any of the people. Go ahead and throw a reinforcement in the middle. Then make head holes across this just so you're able to lob a C4 over the server rack, or you're able to, you know, jump up on this cache table and peek the head holes that I'm about to make right here. And you'll get the line of sight for the walk up. As you can tell, you're going to be able to see like around that area. Reinforce the single wall right here. Reinforce the main cache wall as well, both of them. And then if they're bottom red, you can make a tiny hole and watch the bottom red, and then you can watch swamp. But these angles are very niche and it's very situational since a lot of people do push from below. Go down in garage and use your last 4 reinforcements on the garage G1 and G2, which the wall that I'm reinforcing, this double wall, is called G1, just because it's like garage 1 wall, and then this is garage 2 wall. Now, in terms of like a tip, at the start of, like before the round starts, you can punch open this barricade, look over here, you'll find a drone usually, and then look over here, and then look to your left. You'll be able to shoot 2 to 3 drones most of the time. Something that more advanced players do is they will have this line of sight opened, and you can watch some of stock door slash lounge just by rafters. You can also make holes here, and then you can peek stock as well from construction. That's why that hatch is open, and for rotation. A lot of the times you do want to get somebody playing this lounge area. So if you can think of some strats to hold this area down, like whether it's a shield down here or, you know, a castle barricade on each one of these barricades, you can actually peek underneath the slit, by the way. And yeah, there's a lot you can do, but that's how you set up cache. Next is bar stage. Pop this hatch for late rotation. Shoot this stupid jukebox so you don't hear the weird music. Go ahead and reinforce off stage. This site is one of those sites that a lot of people don't like going because it's very odd and it's not very default. But I actually love this site. So we're gonna just work with my strat that I made. Or not even made. I don't even know if I made it. I just kind of did it. So basically, you make head holes. You reinforce this, by the way, my fault. You go over and basically what you want to do is get a castle. As you can tell, dude, I love how I'm mentioning castle so much in this video. So you make head holes there. You reinforce one of these strip walls. You open up the floor of that part of strip. You reinforce both these walls right here. And then from here, what you want to do is castle off this pool. Pop this hatch. Castle off this hallway door right here. And then I found that castling this kitchen hall door as well is the most effective. Now the thing is with this is you're able to play main hall with less anxiety. It's a lot more freedom. You can throw a beeper on bottom main if you're worried about someone walking up on you. And you need to use 2 reinforcements on this jacuzzi wall. You can also use 1 reinforcement as well over on this single reinforcement, which is going to be in con. And then you have to pick between popping this hatch or reinforcing the single and, you know, popping this hatch and then getting that reinforced, or reinforcing the hatch and leaving that soft. Personally, I would play my life up here. So I would pop that hatch, reinforce this single right here. Maybe make some feet holes for if somebody tries to drop logi. I'm going to barricade this con wall. And basically what you want to do is also get a maestro player and place a maestro cam on top of this jukebox. Hold up. On top of this jukebox, and you're going to put it as high as you can. And basically it will see just over this wall, and you can zap anybody trying to go for a default plant. You can place another one right there, and if they try to go there, they get zapped. And you can place that last one wherever you want. Basically, your main objective is to really have, by the way, castle this off, my fault. Your main objective is to waste as much time with the people above. And then late round, when Maestro, once they're opening this wall, you get Maestro to drop and play his 3 cams. I've won so many rounds just playing that because players don't know how to attack it. So yeah, if, I don't know, some of you guys might be roasting this strat, but I've used it quite a bit in champ rank and have slaughtered kids because they don't know what the hell they're attacking. Let's head downstairs for church. Okay, starting off, you're going to want to make a rotation into blue. Make a rotation into dummies right here. Go ahead and make some feet holes along this line. Reinforce the middle. Go ahead and make some head holes on the far left side. Reinforce the middle. Reinforce the right side. Make a hole above this so you can C4 over. Go ahead and make a rotation on this side, not where I'm reinforcing. Because now when you reinforce this off, if they open the hatch, they cannot shoot you through this. I like to make, this is called Ash Wall. I like to make a rotation here just so I can retake site late round. Go inside dirt and reinforce the dirt. After you reinforce dirt, make sure that you guys reinforce off the blue single right here. And the last 3 reinforcements are going to go to each one of these hatches. Each one of these hatches are very important, so you cannot afford to not reinforce these hatches. And boom, that's how you set up kitchen. Now, I would suggest bringing an operator like Valkyrie, maybe throwing a Velcam in that corner, and then you can get a pre-place downstairs and get an easy C4. You're using that for a C4 hole as well. There is head holes here, so you can contest main stairs if they try to push down. The blue area, one thing you do have to watch out for is if they shoot or if you shoot the top of this, that they can pop your head off. But some enemies get thrown off when they see this, so keep your gun up for this if you do want to use it. Having a shield in this main hall is going to be super effective for watching main stairs, and for maybe even you could technically C4 over this, which let's see where this lands. This does land on the default, so you can get an easy C4. Let's head up upstairs in console office. Starting off, make a head hole in bathroom right here, and then reinforce beside that. This will allow you to get coverage and be able to contest anybody trying to push up yellow for a connector. Let's go ahead and make put down a reinforcement right here. This will help you just to play in between sites and not get shot through the wall. I like to reinforce this wall because I don't like getting wall banged from that window. So I'm just going to go ahead and reinforce this. Now I do like making head hole here because then I can hold a quick peek on it, and if somebody jumps in, I can contest them. Make sure to get the highway window, not the highway, I apologize, wrong map. Death bell, you know, single reinforcement. I like to make feet holes here, by the way, because it's very helpful when trying to contest them if they push deep. And then of course reinforce this right here so I have some cover and they can't just get full map control off that wall bang. Now something that is super helpful is reinforcing off this single, because now they're not able to get a lot of the angles that they would be if they did pop that open, and then they can contest that door frame and possibly get the swing angle here. In terms of long angles, I like to reinforce this wall so they can't get a super long angle on long desk. So if you even want to reinforce the left side as well, then they're going to have to waste a hard breach on it. The right side, what that gets is just a late swing. So if you want to reinforce that, go ahead. There's a positive to it. Doesn't really matter to reinforce the right side of this wall. If you want to contest the spiral, by the way, like walk up, you can make this hole and watch the walk up. You can also watch the walk up from Visa as well. If you want to make a hole right here on this double, you can see like the bottom. And then on the other side, if you go right here, you get the same kind of angle, just a little bit more aggressive. I'm shooting the wrong area, my fault. Right here, it's actually like coming up the staircase and on the lobby hall. I would also suggest probably making some holes for the main window, by the way, because people like to do a rush plan here. It's very common. So if you have holes below, you can go downstairs in piano and get some free picks. Next up, we got piano room. Starting off, let's shoot the bottom of this closet hole. Let's go ahead and make head holes here. Usually you want to play a mirror on this side so that if they walk in and lobby, you can fry them. You're going to want to make a default rotate. If you want to make a default rotate and then head holes, or two rotates, it doesn't really matter. You're going to want to get that hatch upstairs, which I'll show you in a second. And then the second mirror, I have seen people place it right here on this wall. And then, yeah, you can reinforce off bench as well, because it's very default. And you have 6 reinforcements left, so you can do quite a bit with those 6 reinforcements. Let's go upstairs after I reinforce the single wall. 5 reinforcements, my fault. Do a little bit of trolling. So we head up upstairs, and what we're gonna do is reinforce the hatch. I believe there's only one, which is in piano side. So when you're contesting above, there's common entry points like death balcony, the console window. So let's try to cut some of those off. Let's reinforce off this death bulk single. And then we have 3 reinforcements left. So we can do the same thing that we did before and reinforce this wall so you don't get banged by bathroom. Make head holes, of course, so you can contest them. And then you can make holes for your teammates to watch from below if they're playing near this bench area, or if they just need audio. And then let's use the last reinforcement on yellow. You need to play above as much as you can, because there's going to be a lot of people that's just playing super freaking aggressive And if they get top control way too early, they're just going to be able to play vertical everywhere. So I would highly suggest getting 2 or 3 people upstairs while the other 2 people play the mirrors and give you sound indication of where the attackers might be attacking. Let's go next into servers/tellers. So this is a weird site, but if you played the old Consulate, it's the exact same way of playing it before. Go ahead and reinforce this Visa office hatch, and what you're going to be doing is stacking as many C4s as possible with Pulse, Valkyrie, whoever, and basically you don't want them getting inside of A. I mean, you want them getting inside of A, you don't want them getting inside of B. So what you're going to do is you're going to reinforce off these tellers walls over here. I would suggest bringing a castle, of course, and barricading off some doors that's immediate into sight, just so they don't get in very fast. Literally just reinforce all the like in sight walls, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go downstairs and you're going to use 2 reinforcements for 1, this single wall, and 2, we're gonna head right on over to the single dirt wall right here. Now you're gonna reinforce this because if they want to get this that bad, they can waste their time with a hard breach device, and that's it. We're gonna head over to this electrical single and we're gonna reinforce this as well. Now they are gonna push this, so I would suggest maybe a zombie or a shield or something to contest the staircase, and then allow the people that's in down here to, you know, use their pulse scanners. Make sure that the rotates you make down here are runnable, so pulse can just scan everywhere. Now you're going to want to reinforce this storage room single, and then you have 2 reinforcements left over. If you noticed, I did miss a hatch, but we're just going to ignore that because what we're going to do is we're going to get the garage walls. This is a very common starting point for when people attack this, so getting this is definitely well worth it. Having a body over here and contesting this area is super important, because if you can waste time and waste drones, it's going to be so difficult for them to get this map control. Barricade up this cage door, and then what you can do is you can maybe place a shield or a zombie barrier or something just over here just to contest them. Now, of course, the problem with this is if they get cafeteria, then they can open up this wall. So what I would do, if you can bring a shield once again, is bring a shield and play it for this rotate, and then you can contest them as much as possible and play passive right here, because your guys with that has C4s needs to hold this down. In terms of castles, I would castle off the site door, the site window, and the site the coffee machine right here. And then the last one is really up to you, wherever you think is most beneficial, like the cafeteria door, or just wherever so your teammate can rotate. Probably the cafeteria door, because if your teammate is contesting them for garage, they can just push back and be like, okay, this is castled off, cool, I'm protected, I'm good, and then barricade, and then keep their gun up, and yeah, rotate back, and there's a shield here. So yeah, this is the most complicated site I think in this entire video, to be honest, but it's definitely well worth it because it is a very strong site when you know how to capitalize and play off your teammates the proper manner. By the way, you can make holes above this window and then play if they jump in. You can also just make holes here in general, just so if they walk up, you can kill them. Make holes on the... Oh, you can't make holes on the door, like right on the door anymore. Damn. But yeah, you can make a hole on the door right there if they walk in, and then of course on the window if they jump in. But of course you do have that pulse playing his C4, but the person is not gonna be able to see the holes, and you should be able to get some free frags. Last but not least, let's go downstairs in cafeteria/garage. So this is probably the most common site. Now, people make head holes on this wall, and it's really interchangeable. So if you make a reinforcement right here, that just gives you cover to swing and, you know, deal with anybody on the long haul. But the problem with that is you're exposed to so many angles now. So I usually just make the reinforcement right here, because if I'm playing radio pillar and they come down spiral, I don't want to be getting shot in my ass. So it's just helpful to be able to swing and just shoot. and then contest the people if needed. Now, in terms of rotations, we're going to go ahead and make a rotation in between site, of course. We're going to make a head hole on blue. We're going to make a rotation in office. And then we're going to make head holes for this cage door. And then from here, what we're going to do is reinforce this cafeteria single wall. Go back into the construction area. Reinforce the single wall here. Reinforce this other wall right here. And then head over to the main breach. Reinforce that after you make a hole right here with a reinforcement. Reinforce the main garage walls, of course. Now, from here, you have 3 reinforcements left, which are very important uses. So we go all the way upstairs. I would reinforce this single wall right here. And that's because you are going to get a body upstairs to play up here. Now, I extend with castle a lot of the times up here. So I usually just make some rotates, use my very last reinforcement, say on this lobby wall, just so I don't get wall banged. It's very, very shitty not having a lot of reinforcements, but this is a huge map. But yeah, I usually make a rotation here, feet holes here, and then what I'm able to do here is contest all of the walk-in, the default plant, and then the other vertical play I can have for the office head holes here, for the hallway, and so on and so forth. So I'm able to control most of the map just from vertical play. Most importantly, it's just for B. Now, if I'm feeling frisky and my teammates don't like I'm in a 5-stack, I pop this hatch, and basically that allows me to watch the cage hall. That will be like right here. And then I can watch the immediate breach, and that last reinforcement is really up to them with how they want to play it. A good tip and a good rule of thumb, guys, for downstairs basement. Keep in mind, you can play maps 10,000 different ways with the amount of operators we have. Something I like to do with Goyo is I will place a barricade down for coffee room if I know that we're not placing a body here. And I place a Goyo canister on this door. And then when they break it down, it will give me sound indication and just intel that they broke it open. If I get some damage off of them, that's fantastic. But it's not the main goal. The main goal is just to get that information and to slow them the hell down so me and my teammates can readjust. I do the same thing on this blue door on construction too. And yeah. Okay, now starting with hookah, there's 2 ways you can make this rotate. You can either make it crouchable or vaultable. Personally, I prefer to make it vaultable. The reason being is they get less of information for when you go to swing. So for example, they're only getting your head and your chest. And the good thing about this is you can now make punch holes in prone / standing / crouch. And you can do the same on this other soft wall. And this makes it really hard for them to, you know, decide which hole to shoot at or which one to peek. So you can go ahead and reinforce the middle here. Go ahead and make another rotate on the Cool Vibes rotate. The reason why you're making this crouchable is so you can actually access it from Cool Vibes as well. And you can crouch through. Shoot the glass off, of course. Reinforce the wall beside the rotate. Then reinforce the wall beside that wall, basically, leading into sight. And then make a head hole right here. And then make another reinforcement beside the head hole. The reason why you're doing this is so you're now able to, you know, re-peek into hookah, the window, you know, just creating more pressure points for the attackers. Shoot the glass, of course. Now, I like to make head hole here, but that's because I usually play aquarium. And if they try to walk in and try to plant, I can either shoot them or I can shoot the person on the window, or this is bangable, this couch. So if they try to walk in and plant there, I can shoot them. Make these holes just for your default, because this is very common for players that just try to plant right here. So that'll make them feel uneasy. And if you play down below, you can even get a peek on them. Go ahead and reinforce these quad walls. And then once you're done, I see a lot of people reinforcing these 2 walls. Now, this isn't bad per se, but it's just the purpose. If you're going to have somebody playing around VIP area, you're better off reinforcing off these double walls. Now, even though it's an easier wall for the enemies to get, it just gives you more protection now, and you can actually extend into VIP lounge, because a lot of people will just give them map control especially on Coastline, it's so easy to get map control because how tiny the map is. So I even like making footholds here for if anybody drops, then the person that's playing in VIP can get the easy pick or, you know, pressure them as well. Besides that, yeah, that's the site setup. If you want to reinforce these 2 walls instead of those 2, go ahead, but then you're just giving them free reign to wallbang or just take VIP early on. At least with those reinforcements now, they're going to have to thermite charge the wall or use any type of hard breach, or they're going to enter through doors, hatches, etc. I would definitely suggest for you guys to extend into VIP just so you can, you know, watch if anybody drops. If somebody tries to go 90, you have a pressure point on them. And yeah, I see a lot of people just bunkering into site and giving them free reign. And against good players, and especially as you get better, you're not going to win a lot of games on Coastline, especially because a lot of people like to go for this quad wall, which is right here, which you guys can just, if somebody's playing 90, you can just shoot off the utility and, you know, maybe even try to get that pick on the roof, right? Next up, let's go over to theater/penthouse. This is my favorite site on the map, and I will actually, if I'm in a 5-stack, go this site first before I go any other place. And I'll explain why. So usually I play castle. I'm just going mute, so I'm able to TK myself at the end of the round so I can go to the next site. But just act like I'm castle right now. So as you can tell, I'm going to make all the rotates, make the head hole. And basically what the main purpose for all of this is so you're actually able to pressure the enemies and extend in 90. This is supposed to be a head hole, by the way. You want to reinforce the middle of this penthouse wall, reinforce the front VIP walls, then make some holes for the window jump in. You can just make one right here. And then if they hop in the kitchen window, you can kill them. You can head back over into theater area. You can make a head hole right here, or even a rotate on the far right here, just so you have at least some cover, even though it is a soft wall. Make a head hole right here as well. And then you want to make a rotate from 90 right here into 90 hall so you can enter back in the site. And then reinforce these back theater walls. Put a reinforcement right here for white side. And then put feet holes right here. Go over right here in the theater, and you can actually watch the main stairs walk up from theater. Now, with your last few reinforcements, that's really up to you. I'm going to put one right here on the head hole so I can actually play 90 without getting wall banged. Same with these 2 walls right here. And usually as castle, I usually castle off the pressure points of the map. So I'll show you exactly where. I usually castle off the big window right here. I usually castle off the hatch drop door right here. And then I castle off get to Hall of Fame door right here. And the last castle is really depending on how my teammates are playing. So sometimes I might castle barricade off this double, or I might castle off this luggage door. Now as castle, what I do is I place one beeper at the bottom of white right there. And then I place a beeper for 90, and I put that beeper usually right here on that little square, or I like to put it on this vase so whoever's playing in VIP can get intel before they swing. Now usually you have a shield in 90, and the reason why you're extending out like this is because you're able to contest the people that's opening up the breach. Even if they get this control, you can contest the hookah hallway side by vase. You can contest even the people going pool table. And then with the feet holes and all that, when you have to retreat back into site, you have angles for luggage if they try to walk up the hallway. You have angles for the penthouse drop, for guitar. You can even play for big window from 90. You want to be aggressive, try to get a peek. And then everything just benefits when you extend on this site. Now, if you are feeling frisky and you are a good roamer, I would suggest maybe going a pulse or somebody with a C4 down below, because when they get VIP area, you can actually go below in C4, or if they try to go horizontal, which means they're going from the other side of the map over, which is very common, you can play for under of Aqua or from under of Hookah as pulse and get a free pick. Heading over to kitchen service, starting off, make the rotates for the B chassis right here. If you want, you can make a hole like right here, and this is basically for the guitar walk-in. A lot of players go that area when they're trying to take site. I like to make this rotate for lobby. For some people, this might not be default, but this is pretty common in champ ranking, even though I can't make a freaking rotate to save my life. Make some feet holes for the pebbles walk up. And then on blue bar walls, you want to go ahead and make some feet holes. The reason why you're adding all these feet holes is to pressure the enemies so they have another angle where they are at a losing battle. So for example, if somebody tries to take blue bar, you have somebody playing lobby, they can rotate back to site if needed, and they can just watch all of blue bar. Now this is supposed to counteract or kind of help the person that's playing sunrise, because usually you would have somebody playing sunrise contesting the people trying to push sunrise. In terms of reinforcements, go ahead and reinforce the single wall beside the rotate. Go ahead and reinforce these two walls beside the rotate. This is called kegs, by the way. If you guys didn't know, this area is kegs because kegs. And I see a good reinforcement usually being this one. And the reason why you're making this one a reinforcement and then making head holes right here is so the person that's playing lobby, if they know that the enemies are taking service, they can play lobby and have another angle, and it's just one of those things that make the enemies feel uncomfortable when they're taking site. But this allows you to not get wall banged if you're rotating in between sites. If you want, you can make some head holes right here as well, and then you can play off of that as well for service. But yeah, in terms of operator selection, you're pretty free to do whatever you guys want. Coastline is one of those maps where you can bring a range of operators and it can be super, chaotic and effective. So you got to really just get your brain juices flowing and cook that up. Just make sure you reinforce all three of these pebbles walls, just because you don't want to get wall banged if you're playing site if they take map control. But as a defender, just make sure you're contesting the pinch points like sunrise. Have somebody in lobby, have somebody playing in sight so they just don't jump in the window. The good thing about having pebbles feet holes is you can actually shoot for kitchen window, and even though this is not completely broken, you can break it and then play for the person jumping in. The person in lobby can play all around this area. I would suggest maybe somebody of barbed wire. You can put a stack of barbed wire either right here on middle of white or security door. If you have multiple stacks of barb, you can place them there. And that will give you all the information you need as a defender, so you don't need to overextend. Last but not least, blue bar / sunrise. Okay, starting out on blue bar, make some feet holes for blue bar. Go ahead and reinforce off this blue bar wall and the one beside it. I have seen people do head holes here, but I feel like that would be too complicated for a lot of you guys. This site is very viable though. It's probably also maybe the best site. I think Penthouse and Blue Bar are definitely two of the best sites on this map. Go ahead and make a rotation here. Go ahead and make feet or head holes here. I like to just make feet holes and then completely reinforce this left side of sunrise. Now, what's very common for playing this side of sunrise, by the way, is if you go somebody that has a shield, like say Warden. Smoke used to have a shield, so it used to be common for Smoke to play here. But if you can go Smoke and maybe have your teammate bring a shield and place it around this area, get some ADSs on this wall or Umidis across this wall, and you guys can, contest the walk-in for that. Go ahead and make head holes for right here. Go ahead and reinforce this off. The reason why you're making head holes, by the way, is just so you can get some angles if they jump in. You can also make head holes there and then reinforce this off right here, and then you have more angles for blue bar. Something you're seeing that's very consistent in this is you just are getting and creating more and more angles with the site setups instead of just reinforcing everything. Now, I have seen Castle play it on this, so Castle is usually right here, but you can just barricade this if you want. You can make a rotation in the kitchen. You want to really not give up kitchen control way too early, because if you do that, guys, you would just allow them to basically jump in the window and then have complete cutoffs on this side of the map. You can go ahead and make a head hole right here and then reinforce this right wall. The reason why you're doing this is so you have a chance to, get a peek on on service, and then, bathroom as well. Now, if you're going to do the feet holes in blue bar, which is very default, I would suggest maybe have somebody playing around security slash lobby late round, and then they can now pick off the person that's trying to plant behind the bar or jump in the big window and trying to plant. That's why these blue bar holes are so effective for this site, is because you're actually able to play. There's no safe spot to plant. It is very common for players to push over in office area, so just keep that in mind. If you do want to do like maybe like a shield setup in here, like a shield right here, that would also be effective, especially if you have your teammate over there. But it is also pretty common for people to play vertical play, so keep that in mind. Be sure to reinforce this wall off as well by the rotate, just so you have some cover when you are playing site. And then you do have the hatch that is above you. Now that is needed. You cannot miss out on getting this hatch, because if they pop open the hatch early on because it's soft, then they have every counter angle that they need to get a perfect proper plant and pinch. Emerald Plains is probably one of the most misunderstood maps, and hopefully this will make you want to play it a little bit more. So let's start with admin slash CEO. Now, starting with admin, you're going to want to reinforce this single waiting room wall. This is the most common breach that people will get. It's not that big of a deal though overall. Heading over to this main wall, you're going to want to make feet holes here, and I'm going to explain why here in a second. Now, you're not going to want to make the feet holes that like tall, if that makes sense, because I did it a little bit too high. But when you make the head hole, feet holes, I mean, low, you're able to contest the people walking in from green, and it's another angle that they're going to have to worry about. The thing about this map is you can't play sight. And what I mean by this, you can't all just have every single teammate in sight trying to just play like a normal site like any other. You can't bunker down. There's so many exterior windows and problems that you're going to have if you all play sight. So I would highly suggest bringing in a zombie. You can place in a zombie right here. You can place it on the table so they have to shoot the zombie barrier and can't play that window. And I would highly suggest also possibly playing either maybe a shield right here and contest, or anything that will allow you to play outside of sight on this area. On the other side, you're going to want to make sure that you guys reinforce these walls. Now, what I do like to do is make a rotation and extend horizontally in a painting gallery. The reason why is because now I can retake sight and have another chance and another angle that they'll have to worry about besides this one door. Beside the meeting wall, you can reinforce this. And if you want to extend this deep, reinforce this vault double wall. The reason why you're doing this is because when you extend this deep in, you guys are going to have to worry about them taking either wall bangs or just taking control early on. What you could also do here is make some feet holes here. The reason why you're doing this is just so you can contest from Orange Hall, and if they open the breach and they walk in, you can easily frag them. Once again, do not play sight. If you have multiple people in sight, you are going to be screwed. Now, another thing that you guys can do is reinforce either this single wall or the other one. Both of them serve different purposes. But say you do this, and they try to jump in from the window and plant, or they walk in from Orange Hall, you now have another angle that you can contest them from. I would also suggest possibly reinforcing this wall beside the rotation. The reason being so you don't get wall banged and you have some cover if you're getting contested. A zombie's very strong on this site, just like a lot of the newer maps, but most importantly, you need to just extend outside of sight and not allow them to get early control. Because if they get hunting hall right here, then they can just basically walk into sight and frag you off and get easy wins. What this does and what this site setup allows you to do is contest them from taking map control as much as possible, as long as you play the angles. Now, if you bring a castle, you can castle off this double window, and you're not going to have to worry about this stupid library hold. But something I do want to let you guys know, you guys can get drones up here. So if you want to go ahead and just keep an eye on that and shoot them, I usually set up my cams on attack up in the skylight, and it watches literally anywhere over this library area and even some parts of downstairs fireplace. Next is private gallery slash meeting. Now, this is kind of like a similar site setup in terms of making the rotation. Now, the only problem with making a rotation here is that you have this window. So I would suggest maybe putting a shield here, or you can literally just flip the rotation and that's fine. It just, I find if you reinforce this, then it's going to be hard to retake a site if they walk in that door, and you're not going to have much cover trying to weave in between sites. So to counteract that, I would suggest bringing a shield, maybe placing it right here, or in a zombie barrier just for cover. A zombie is very strong on this site once again because this is all destructible, so you can cover all that with zombie barriers. Now, once again, reinforce these back vault walls. Make feet holes on the vault soft walls over here. Reinforce this single gallery wall. And then I like to pop this hatch just for rotation's sake. And for if somebody walks bottom orange, you now have an angle. And a lot of people, since they don't know this map very well, they won't be able to see this. But that is personal preference. That's a little bit more advanced. Go ahead and reinforce this wall right here. Go ahead and reinforce these back meeting walls. And once again, go ahead and reinforce this single wall again. And what you can do is put head holds here. Now, if somebody tries to walk in the single door, they will get contested. Now, only do this if you're going to play around this site, or you know one of your teammates is going to watch, because late round, this is very effective for the amount of angles that they can get, but it's also very crappy to attack, because if I'm walking in right here, I have to watch orange hall, I have to watch tucked on the reinforcement. Like, there's a lot of angles as an attacker I have to watch, so just keep in mind for that. Going back over to the rotation aspect of right here, if you put a zombie barrier here, you could play this, and maybe in a zombie barrier over here, and then you can have a rotation and have more likelihood of being able to retake the map. Now, the thing that's very hard about this side of the map is trying to stay alive, because a lot of people get anxious and they want to go swing. But the thing is, this is one of those sites where you can bunker down, because there is so much going on for the attackers to worry about that it's going to be so hard for them to get map control early on, as long as you don't let them. If you guys want to bandit trick this vault wall, then I would suggest it. You can make vertical for the walk-in on the double soft walls, and I believe you can make vert on the kitchen, on the window, which you can, and you can watch their quick entry if they try to go below and ash below. So you have everything going for you on this site, as long as you don't overextend. Now, if you do bring a castle off this single window, this orange window, and this clock window. The last castle I would suggest on this double window, because it's just such an annoying angle, man. Besides that, you do have to worry about this stupid single window, but you could put in a zombie barrier on the desk to block it off for you. And from here, I would suggest maybe placing somebody around admin early on, and just focus on any audio, and then rotate your utility if nobody's pushing this way over. But this is the most common area to push, so just keep that in mind. You could even put feet holes here, and you know, play back on a shield, and then if you want to push up, you have an angle that they have to worry about, or if you want to get an early pick. But you got to watch for these two windows, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, next is bar lounge, which is going to be the most uncommon site. You will probably not go here at all, but let's just jump into it just in case you guys somehow decide to go here. Going sites like this isn't bad, by the way, because it's going to throw off the enemies. How many of you guys have attacked this site on I almost said Outback, on Emerald Plains? Like, seriously, comment down below right now and let me know, because I'm willing to bet it's not a lot. Anyways, so I'm going to make head holes here. I'm going to reinforce these double walls. This is the main wall that people usually get, and I'm going to explain why here in a second. Because once you get this, it can seem like you have sight, but the good thing about this site is you can do so much with the long angles, and since you have these two mini bars, it can be so freaking annoying to push into. Now, another wall that people are going to try to get is this kegs wall over here. And I'll show you why it's called kegs, of course, because this freezer is full of a bunch of kegs. Now you can put some holes above and you can C4 over. Now I wouldn't suggest popping this hatch if you're solo queue, but since I'm technically, let's act like in a 5-man atmosphere, here's what we're gonna do. Let me just reinforce these back lounge walls and I'm gonna have fun with this. Now, if you make head holes along this, and then you can place probably like a shield on this green staircase, you can now contest anybody from walking in from this main breach and trying to plant, or from the contesting the stock door. Now, I would suggest bringing somebody for the back walls and for the front walls. I would also suggest maybe bringing a Jaeger or Wamai just for this shield. And what you're going to do is you're going to contest anybody pushing in. Now, this person that's holding green is going to only have to worry about that going into the late round, but I would highly suggest having somebody playing around hunting, just because it can be a pain in the ass if somebody tries to walk in and pinch the guy in green. On the flip side, you are also able to hold an angle for the walk-in on hunting right here from this hatch. Now, what's crazy about this is late round, you can literally play the hatch, and if they open up this stock breach, you can kill them, and you can get a little bit of sight right there. Now, in terms of an operator, I would play this as, I would honestly play it as Castle. And you're going to hear a lot of Castle in this video, especially on these newer maps, because Castle is so effective. So Castle off that single, Castle off this green, Castle off this double, and then possibly even Castle off either that door or barricade that door on ping, and then barricade or Castle this door, just so if they take deep, they can't just, you know, punch the barricade and wallbang you. They'll actually have to show presence. But if you can, you know, play this like this with a teammate on green, you'd be doing so much effectively. The people in sight, they just need to worry about this west fountain. There's not really much entry besides this single, so if you guys really wanted to, you could reinforce this off. Early in the round, if you think they're going to try to lurk over in this fountain area to open, or fireplace I should say, you should maybe get a roamer, maybe a Mozzie or something, and then get them to play kitchen. If they come golf clubs, then you're able to, you know, maybe get an easy frag. It's a very aggressive site, but it's honestly underrated in my opinion. I think it's a cool site. Last but not least, let's go dining/kitchen. This is a very common site. People usually grab like a mirror, place a mirror here, make a rotation there, or a head hole, and they basically contest the breach. Now, if you guys do that, don't reinforce this double. Basically make head holes if you're playing that mirror, because now as thermite or whoever, they're not going to be able to walk up and place a thermite charge or ace charge, and if they are, it's going to be very awkwardly. They'll most likely die or you can destroy it. And if you make them waste, let's say, some ash charges or Zofia impacts, that's fantastic. That just means that they have less utility to destroy other teammates' utility. So if you can, bring maybe Maestro or something that's bulletproof, like a bulletproof cam, and just something that'll give you information. But for now, let's just reinforce this for a lot of you guys. I'm going to give you a good solo queue/duo queue strat here as well, and I'll show you in a second. But first, in terms of reinforcements, reinforce those two walls, reinforce this single. You're going to want to reinforce this back wall right here as well. This is a very common wall for people to get in terms of getting orange area. You're going to want to reinforce, hold up, make the rotate in between sites, reinforce the middle of it, and then make head holes on the right side of the reinforcement, just so you're able to contest them if they walk inside freezer and you have an angle to burden their lives. Now, you want to go ahead and reinforce this single wall as well. And then beside it, you're going to want to make feet holes. Now, your teammates might reinforce off your feet holes, but just in case, if you're in, you know, if you want to get spooky and play a little bit more silly, the reason why you can do this is because you can place a shield here or whatever, and then you can contest them from going orange or from the main hall because you can tuck. This just creates a lot more pressure on the attackers, but a lot of the majority of your teammates and randoms or people that don't know how to play the map or don't understand that, they will reinforce that. And it's whatever. So I was just talking about the solo queue strat. If you're able to, you know, pop the hatch and let your teammates know what you're doing, go ahead and pop that hatch, reinforce off this vault double wall, because this will be easy entry for the enemies to go into. Go ahead and make feet holes here once again. And then I like to make a rotation here just so I can play that angle that I'm going to show you. Now, what you can do here once again is make long angles for the breach. So you don't need to peek it right away, but this is also effective if you have that mirror with the head holes, because you can play it from a long angle. You can also watch their walk in, and even if they get close to the rotation, you can get them. Or if you want to be silly, you can even... I was trying to see if I can get above the mirror. It's probably right here. Yeah, you can get this angle and you can hold their walk in, and it's going to be a very tight pixel. But at the same time, you're able to hold all of sight as well. If you have one more reinforcement, reinforce this gallery wall as well. So you can basically get their walk in if they try to walk in and go behind the island. It's not the best angles, but it is still pretty strong. Notice how I'm emphasizing vertical play on this as well. I'm giving you guys strategies that you can use that could be effective. And basically you can just hold all above sight. Now, I do this with castle once again. So when I do this with castle, I castle off this single blue door. I castle off the window. I castle off this window. And then I might castle off either this hallway window or this orange window. But this is all personal preference. So if you guys want to do something like this, you can really kill it upstairs. Starting off with cocktail lounge / bar. Make sure you open up this little bar, which is called default plant, because people will just walk up and get an easy plant. And this wood is made out of goddamn oak on steroids. You want to make some holes on this bar as well. Go ahead and make a rotation on this bar area. Reinforce the wall beside it. If you really wanted to, you can also make a head hole just so you can peek. Head over and pop this hatch just so you can rotate late round. Now, I see people making rotations here. Let me just explain to you why that's the dumbest thing you can do. They have so much like perspective and angle from the skylight. So just don't do this. Even in bathroom. Like, don't do that, guys. Okay? So I'm just gonna reinforce this so you can have some cover as well if they get bathroom control. And yeah, we make a rotate. Let's head over here and make another rotate. Let's head over here and make head holes and reinforce. See, a lot of people, what they usually do is they will make head hole here and then, you know, reinforce right there. And on paper, that makes sense because, you know, you get covered, you can peek, and then you can rotate back. But the problem with that is you get so many angles into Whitehall. So if imagine this was a head hole, you basically have such a long angle. So it's going to be hard to retake the map. But right here, what you're able to do is you're able to peek for cocktail. CS, which is cigar shop. You're able to peek the window, the bar, the piano, the window, the hatch, etc. Right? And it's going to be a guessing game for the attackers because they're going to have to take their crosshair from aiming over here to aiming over here, over here. And they're going to keep having to swap back and forth, right? So it's also that. And when you're back in freezer, you can now hold an angle on them for couches, and that can be a pain in the ass. Go ahead and reinforce the rotation beside it so you can have some cover. Go ahead and reinforce off freezer. And then I see people doing feet holes. Now, feet holes make a lot of sense, but this is all personal preference. So with feet holes, you're able to basically force them to prone or like have their crosshairs down to see you, and you can shoot them if they walk in, and it's all good and it's all fun and games. You can even get the guy on default. I like to do at least one hole, and it's right here, and that's for freezer. I mean, not freezer, that's for heaven balcony, because people like to Morrow Rush or they like to go through that window, and at least I can light them up, right? And I'm also able to peek the skylight a little bit if I know there's one last alive playing on it. Make sure to shoot those glass off windows at the start of every round. It's super annoying when people don't do that. You get audio when they repel. And then last but not least, the last two reinforcements would be on the cigar lounge walls. You have 2 reinforcements left over, so if you want to do something else, that's really up to you, to be honest. But yeah, this is the most basic site setup that you can think of, to be honest. Yeah. Also, if you guys didn't know, there is an angle right here. I just want to, like, I know there's a lot of newer players that somehow still don't know this, and that's okay because you guys are new. But as you can tell, when you shoot above this, you get an angle that's for the hatch. And what I mean by that is if you look, this hatch right here, you can peek anytime they peek it or they're around that hatch. Next up, let's go to mining / fireplace, which you guys should know that this is one of the least played maps in ranked. But I'm just going to show you how to play it. Make a rotate right here. Reinforce off this entire back wall. Next, make head holes in pillar, and then you can make a reinforcement just so you can have some cover. What this allows you to do is peek the main window if they try to jump in and get an easy fast plant. Go ahead and reinforce these back fireplace walls. Go ahead and reinforce this fireplace wall as well. And then you can make feet holes as well for if anybody tries to push up. Make a rotate in between sites, of course. Now there is a hatch, so get the hatch, of course. Reinforce off the rotation side wall just so you have cover and they can't wallbang you. Now these walls aren't that important to reinforce. If you want to make a head hole there and then reinforce beside it, you can, just so if they get deep in the double. I'm just trying to think as default as possible, right? And then you can make a head hole right here as well. And basically you want to get somebody to play around site, and then you want to basically try to have pillar control, get some utility for red stairs here, and you can even make a rotation into pillar if you want, just so it's another angle if they're, say they're into A or they're taking B. It's just another way that you can pressure the people on red as well. It's just a huge pain in the ass. This is a very lackluster, and it takes a lot of team communication to play this site. So just keep that in mind when you pick it. You can make a rotation here into pillar, into reading. And the reason being is now you can reinforce this, and you can even play this area and contest people, and you have some coverage, of course. Next is fireplace / reading, which is my favorite site on this map. Go ahead and make feet holes along this wall. Go ahead and make a rotation on this wall. Go ahead and make a rotation on this wall as well. Now what you're going to be doing is you need to play upstairs. There is no saying no, you can't just bunker down, because playing upstairs is the most important part of this side of the map. Reinforce off beside the rotates. Reinforce off this double pillar reading wall. Next, you want to go ahead and make feet holes along this reading wall as well. The reason being is you are now able to hold and contest anybody walking into each other's site. So as you can tell, boom. Okay, so next up, I would also suggest reinforcing this wall as well. And then you're going to make a lot of vertical holes. So you need to bring somebody with a shotgun, of course, because, you know, you're making all these holes. But it's very important for this part. And basically, you want to make vertical control for above. So as you can tell, I'm making a bunch. This just watches the reading door. This watches the tucked right here. This watches the tucked plant as well, if, you know, my shotgun would work. And I already popped the hatch. I'm also got a peek right here for the fireplace. You want to go upstairs and reinforce off these freezer walls, because you're going to be playing up here, so you need as much protection as possible. Go ahead and make sure you break the glass off the window, and then reinforce this single wall. Reinforce off this wall beside it as well. And then make head holes right here. And basically, you want to play like a shield around this area. Have a Wilmeyer Jaeger for right here, so they can't burn and destroy your shield. And then have one of your teammates playing white stairs, or if you're the teammate, play white stairs and contest them. You don't really need to be up in their grill trying to shoot them like under skylight. You don't need to be under here and giving them ones and picks and easy frags. You can have somebody playing around pillar and go for like a C4 under new balcony, or literally anywhere in Christmas / piano. I would also suggest having somebody playing around train museum. If you need a reinforcement, reinforce right here, just so you don't get wallbanged. You can make head holes if you want. You can even make red holes, etc. But basically, you just need to contest as much as possible. All of this is vertical play, by the way, this site. So if you guys know that they're going to execute here and they're going to walk through here, you could literally like make vertical or go pulse and go underneath and easily get some C4 kills just from, you know, right here. Last but not least, let's go kitchen. So starting off with kitchen, make sure that you guys reinforce the hatch and then reinforce these back freezer walls. You could also put holes above this and C4 over. Now there is a way that you can sprint on top of this and then you can peek over it. I'm not really too good at it, so it takes me too many tries and it's not worth me trying, so I'm not gonna waste my time doing that. Make some head holes here, make some feet holes here, reinforce off the middle. The reason why you're doing this is for protection, so you can play around those areas without getting wall banged. And then you can have an angle for the prep walk in. You can have the angle for the double door walk in right there. Go ahead and reinforce beside the head holes for red. Usually you play somebody in coat. If nobody's going to play coat or nobody's playing around site in the proper manner, reinforce this off because you're just giving them a free angle. Go ahead and reinforce the front walls. Go ahead and go into prep and then make feet holes just so that they're not safe when they walk in, and you can have somebody just playing the double window behind you right there on prep. You can watch, and make sure you reinforce off this single wall in the bakery because you're going to need somebody to play bakery and contest them because you can't give them map control. So you would have somebody here with like a Wamai or something, placing Wamitis, burning, wasting time, and then if they open up this wall or they're opening it, push back. You would usually have somebody red hall, so they shouldn't be able to open it up with an Ace Charge or Hibana because you'll have somebody here. The two extra reinforcements, like I said, one would be on the hatch, and you can put the very last one on this single long bar just so they can't open up that angle and frag you out. I would really want you guys to like play around the map horizontally, so you would have somebody even playing probably in Christmas and just contesting them from taking map control. You could make a rotation on one of these walls and then reinforce freezer, and then you guys can play together. Map control is super important, especially on Kafe, so just keep that in mind, guys. Heading over to radar/server room, make a rotation right here, reinforce all the 90 walls right here. After you do that, make sure you make a head hole right here. The reason why you're doing that is so you're able to peek anybody that's coming in, and it's just another angle that's a pain in the ass for them. Let's head over to the main box wall, make feet holes on the box, just so if they take that control, you can now peek them from multiple angles, including 90. Reinforce off these two front walls. Now, I know this side of the map right here in this box area is called renovations, but just so you know, a lot of the compass calls, or some of the compass calls, people don't use. I call this box, just so you guys know. But yeah, so basically you now have an angle for outside if they walk in. Like, there's so many ways that you can contest them here. I wouldn't suggest making feet holes here because a lot of times you use this to try to retake. But what you could do is you could make a head hole here, and then you can get an angle on box. And yeah, that's honestly the most basic site setup for this side. Like, this is pretty universal, not gonna lie. Next, we're going map/security room. Starting out, you want to make sure that you reinforce this wall right here. You're gonna want to make a rotate at the far left side, and then reinforce right here. So then you're actually able to have some cover if they take map side. You're going to want to make head holes in kitch, and then you are going to want to hold up. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart right now. Wait, no, hold up. Put a reinforcement here, and then you can make head holes here, and then basically you can watch museum late round or top green. If you want to, you could make feet holes along this bottom green side walls, and basically when they come down the stairs or they come up from the outside, their entire feet will be exposed, and the only way they'll see you if they prone, and they're basically at a losing advantage there. So that's why you would do that. Heading upstairs, of course, you're going to want to get the main hatch. The main hatch is super freaking annoying. There's two of them. So there's one in box area, And then there's one in radar over here. So basically, what you would want to do as a defender, guys, is make sure that you do this kind of like the same setup. Reinforce off the box walls as well. And something cool that you can do, which I'm going to show you guys here. Give me a second. Let me just reinforce this. Is you guys can make lines of sight from below. And it gives you so much intel if they walk in. Now, I don't know if you make lines of sight right here, if you can watch them walk in from hill, but let's actually see, because I haven't tested this. So actually you can see when they walk in. So you can use this angle to, I'm just opening up to be a little bit more dramatic to help you guys out. But yeah, you guys can watch them walk in, and it can be super helpful for your teammates. In terms of site setup, that's about it, but I would suggest bringing a Malusi on this site, a lot of barbed wire, because there's a lot of areas, like for example this lower bridge area, where people will just walk up and they'll creep up, or they'll stack their push here and they'll just try to get a plant like in the corner here. So you want to try to be aware of that. Next up, we got Coast Guard. I think this is the most uncommon site, so this one's pretty silly of a site, but you can make it work and it can go crazy. So you can make feet holes, reinforce off beside the feet holes. I've seen people flip these reinforcements and then put a mirror on it, but the reason why I'm putting it here is so you have a better angle. If they walk in, you can shoot them, you can help the person that's playing on this box area, and it's just more of a pain in the ass. It doesn't help them at all. Even if they prone, they're not getting like really strong angles, and yeah, it's not that helpful. Gonna want to go ahead and just reinforce right here. I like to make head holes here. I like to make more head holes here. I like head holes. Reinforce off this far side radio wall. Make more head here. More head. Now the reason why you're making head here is because you're now able to peek this angle, and it gives you a direct long angle for the staircase on white. And you can pop this hatch so you can rotate late. Now, I've seen people, and I've done this before as well, have an extension all the way from bottom yellow side. Goddamn shotgun. Where I'm able to hold an angle from this far away. But if you do this, just make sure that you guys are reinforced off this wall and have utility for yellow, or have somebody playing, yellow, or playing printer, and then you have utility for it, of course. But yeah, this basically gives you a long angle for if they walk in wide. And then of course you can hold this. Now you could put a shield around this area and then hold the long main hallway area. Something you're going to want to do while playing this side though, guys, is bring probably a Pulse, Valkyrie, or a lot of BPs, which are bulletproof cams, and then you can literally play C4 from below and deny it. Like, it's one of those sites where you're gonna have to. It's very freaking strong. But yeah, that's how I'd set it up. Last but not least, let's go to supplies / kayaks. Now if you want to, you can reinforce this single wall and pipes, but I'm gonna make feet holes, so if they walk in, I can contest them. Go ahead and make a rotation station right here. Go ahead and make head holes for main stairs. Go ahead and make head holes for yellow side. Go ahead and reinforce kayaks. Go ahead and reinforce beside the head holes. Go ahead and reinforce these two soft walls. And then head upstairs, and then we're going to reinforce both the hatches, because if you don't get the hatches, you're going to be basically screwed. First hatch, and then of course the second hatch right here. Now as a defender, what I like to do is I like to play up here in archives with Capcan, put some EDDs all around. And the good thing about this is you can actually make vertical right here for the walk-in on trench. Now you might have to shoot a lot. God damn, bro. But yeah, as you can tell, you can have angles for this, and if they walk into bathroom, you can get an angle. That's what's good about this. Another thing I like to do is maybe make a hole in this wall, and since I'm Capcan, I can literally just quick peek, spray, headshot, boom, boom. And yeah, usually I have one of my teammates playing yellow side and giving me intel for radio. You can also make lots of lines of sight for vertical play. So for example, you can watch the walk-in for sight. You can watch the window if they try to jump in. You can watch even some of the bottom staircase if they somehow go down and go past you. And then you can also watch the main door to walk into site, which is of course right here. And then of course default plant is going to be underneath the hatch, guys. So you can play all these angles, which are very nice, including, you know, the site door, the site rotate, and even the site hall. So yeah. Now R6 room is the most default site on Lair, but it's oftenly the most missed set up. So starting off, make a rotate right here, make a head hole on this wall, make lines of sight right here. You can even make a rotate if you want. Now the reason why you're going to be doing this is because you're going to reinforce this wall. And now as a defender, you can hold the long angle for the main breach walk-in. You can hold and contest the main stairs. You can also contest this display window, and you can rotate back to site if needed. So you get a lot of map control just in this area. You're going to want to head over to the bathroom area, make feet holes. Now, if you want, if you're going to play top main, reinforce this wall right here, just so you don't get wall banged. Heading over to the main top mez, a lot of people like to reinforce this off completely, but what I find is once they open the main breach, they usually just run in and get a safe plant. Make a head hole here, and then reinforce the wall beside it. And then make a head hole right here, and then reinforce the wall beside this one. The reason why you're going to be reinforcing this one and not the other way around is because not only can you play safe tucked, but you don't have to worry about this window wall banging you. Now you can also swing for the door, and you can also play in sight at a pixel angle. If they push up deep in operational around this one ping, you can have somebody in sight contesting them. This just creates a lot of angles that will pinch them and make the attacker's lives living hell. Don't make head holes here. Make a like a big tall head hole here. The reason why is so you can see 4, and it's so somebody can play in this area. My fault, cat got my tongue. If you want, you can also place a shield around this area, and then you can, you know, play off of that wall. Go ahead and reinforce the first 2 mass room walls. I don't know why this is called mass room, but it's quite silly. And I would suggest reinforcing this wall as well, just so the person that has to retake site can retake site if needed. Now, I see a lot of people reinforcing this off. Instead, what I would suggest is making a rotation into the storage area, putting feet holes right here, just so that if they are trying to take IT side, you can contest them, of course. Reinforce the left wall right here, and then reinforce the wall right here beside it. And what you can do on this site is you can actually set up like a shield or something like that in this corner in storage, and you can contest them from taking the main hallway and from just pushing into site from right there. The good thing about this strategy is you can have so much map control, and you can just rotate pretty easily because all the head holes, all the rotation holes. And the main objective, once again, guys, is to really just contest the enemies from taking too much map control. So keep that in mind when doing this, and that's honestly why I have it set up like this. Once again, this is default, so if you guys set it up a different way, that's completely fine. But the main objective that I'm trying to teach here is that map control is the most important thing. And when you reinforce off like storage area and all of this, this gives them opportunity to easily open up this wall and then pinch you guys in sight and push you guys back. Every single one of these rotate holes or head holes gives you a chance to either retake site or have multiple different angles onto the attackers if they try to take map control. For example, if they push you back from operation contesting, or if there's somebody's on the operation window right here, you can now peek them pretty easily and have another angle on them. Next up, let's go to bunks/briefing. Okay, so starting off, let's reinforce the back briefing walls. Let's go ahead and make head holes and a rotation right here on briefing. Now, this back wall is the most common wall since it is, as you can tell, an outside wall. Now, you could bring a mirror and place it right here on a hard wall and put a head hole on the right side here. That would just delay so much time. But for now, I'm just going to reinforce it. Now, with this, you're going to have to contest this bottom bunk area or slash green stairs area. And by doing this, I would suggest maybe bringing a castle, castling off this window, castling off that door barricade, placing a beeper on this staircase, and just make sure they don't get early map control over here, because the person that's going to be probably bandit tricking or anything like that on this wall can be playing that. The person that's playing that as well can walk up green stairs and get a flank on anybody going above. Make sure that you guys get this hatch. I like to make a head hole personally right here. You'll see in a second after I reinforce this. The reason that it's like this and not in the reinforcement isn't right there and right there is because now they don't have cover. If the attackers want to commit to a swing, they will have to swing and expose their body to so many different angles. It's just such a pain in the butt. Now, we're going to go one step further on this side of the map. Make sure you guys reinforce the security hatch as well, or you could extend above and play it. It's a little bit more risky, but the good thing about this side of the map is that the beams are facing vertically and not horizontally, so you have an easier line of sight if they try to push in. And a lot of times, if you're playing mute, they're not going to see those holes unless they're just staring at the roof. Now, another thing with castle, I've done this before. I've castled this window off, placed a beeper down here on bottom yellow, and what I like to do is make feet holes along this door. So if they walk in, I can play the top yellow stairs, and I can kill them if they walk in. You can also place a castle barricade on this reception door, and yeah. You got to think about extending out as much as possible, especially on a map like Lair. So just when you're playing this map, just do so. Also, by the way, I was talking about that mirror right here. You can also place a mirror right here on this wall with the other mirror, and you guys can kind of play two separate mirrors, and it's going to be super hard to play into. Next, we got Armory Maintenance. Now, this is my least favorite site, but it's kind of because it's at the center of the map, but let's see. So the problem with Armory is there's so many entrances around the map. As you can tell, like, you have the staircase, you have the Zulu hole. Here's what I would suggest. Reinforce these two walls over here on the north side of Armory. I personally like making a vaultable rotate, because I feel like this side, you feel like you're just kind of pinched inside the site, and it's really hard to retake the site and rotate off. And it's a pretty big site, as you can tell. I'm also going to make a rotate right here by this projector wall. By the way, there is a hatch, so be sure to go get that. It's right there on ping. Reinforce these two walls over here on weapon maintenance. And this is the main lobby area. I would highly suggest bringing like a shield or something and placing it in this reception area and playing it, because they will try to take site. Now, this is a big area that a lot of attackers take on this site, so castle would be very strong, castling off that single and double. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make head holes right here on this far right wall and make a reinforcement in the middle of it. This just allows you to now contest them if they try to walk in either site, and it just gives you more potential to retake the site if needed. Once again, this is my least favorite site out of all the sites on this map. But the good thing about it is there is a lot of vertical control that you can contest. So you honestly just gonna have to mess around and play off of it. But this is personally how I would set up the site, with this hatch popped if you need to rotate. Last but not least, let's go to lab/lab support. Okay, starting off, you're gonna want to make a rotate in between site. That's very default. Make sure you reinforce the hatch. Reinforce these two back lab exit walls, because this is the connector in between sites. I haven't really seen a lot of players try to take this wall, so until I see this becoming more common, I would say that this is default to reinforce that. Next, I make head holes right here. Now, this is more of a personal preference type of thing. If you want to go ahead and make feet holes on this wall or head holes, it's up to you. This will stop the attackers from being able to take this locker's control safely and open up this wall. Now, of course, if they have an Ash or a Sledge or, Zofia, then they can easily just open it. But if they have an Ash or Zofia, you can place a Wamai disc right here in the lockers and right here by the boots, and that can stop them from entering. You can do the same thing, by the way, on this locker's double wall, and that will stop them from easily getting control of this little electrical area. And something I would suggest, if you want, is maybe even place a shield, like maybe tucked in this corner, and then you can have somebody play it. And if you really want to, you can even have a rotation right there behind the shield, and the person can rotate back if they're getting too heavily contested. The thing about lockers is you can tuck so well in the corner that it's going to be very hard for them to clear, especially when you have feet holes here. Now, reinforce this wall just so the person has cover. Reinforce the other hatch that is right here. Reinforce the single wall that is in missile. Reinforce these 2 back walls in warehouse. And once again, castle is pretty strong on this map as well. So if you're really wanting to, if you're bringing castle, put a castle on the barrels barricade, throw a castle on the electrical barricade. And you can even, if you play the shield on this, place a castle right here on this lab door. And what this allows you to do now is to safely rotate between the site without having to keep your gun up and worry about that. Even if late round your teammate gets crutched off the shield and had to push back, it still gives you a slight bit of cover. And honestly, this is a more favorable angle to play against than this door frame. So just keep that in mind. Now, when you're defending this site, at the start of each round, you're going to want to contest the warehouse area. Now, this is where you have to use your brain and think about different strats. I would definitely suggest bringing a Cade, Bandit, etc. If you could put a shield right beside the wall, you could get a bandit trick going. You would just need one of your teammates to either go Jaeger or Wamai and place their utility around this area. At the same time, that person that's Jaeger or Wamai is going to have to watch Yellow Staircase and the walk-in on the door, unless you guys have some type of utility like barbed wire and whatnot. That would be great. And on the flip side, you're going to have somebody lurking around lockers area, making sure nobody's taking, the barrel's window over here or in electrical. But if you have that person on the shield with the feet holes, they can watch the counter over here. So this person would really just be here in barrels to support the person that's playing warehouse while bandit tricking. The last 2 people are going to have to either play around site or have maybe one on site just for audio, getting swapping through cams, and telling the defenders what and how the attackers are pushing, and then you guys can adjust from there. Vertical control is very good on this map, but a lot of players don't play it because a lot of players don't know the map. So the more that this map is normalized, the more people will get used to it and they'll realize how strong vertical play is. So you're gonna have to adjust off of that as well going into the late stages of this map being in ranked. So just keep that in mind, but I feel like this is a very default solid site setup overall. Starting with command center / server.
Bomb locations are secure.
Starting off, you're going to want to make a rotate that's vaultable for the connector room. And while you're in the connector room, reinforce these 2 connector walls. Go ahead and reinforce the wall beside the server wall. Make head holes on this server wall to rafters. And then go up to the IT walls and reinforce them off. Now, if you have somebody bandit tricking or cage tricking the wall, you can also make a hole around this area, and you can hold for anybody trying to go below and jump in that window early on. When in rafters, go ahead and reinforce the top 2 rafters walls or warehouse if you're looking at the compass call. If you want to, reinforce the bottom warehouse walls, because as you get into higher ranks, people will open that up and hold an angle to cut off anybody that's playing rafters. Heading over to the blue wall, go ahead and make feet holes along the wall. Now, you don't need to do this far right one if you feel very anxiety ridden, because somebody might push through and get an angle if they prone. So you can reinforce that right one. Usually people do. You're also going to want to reinforce this command center wall beside the head holes. Now, usually I see people keep 1 reinforcement for this rotate for late round. So if you want to do that, go ahead. It's just in this circumstance, I have 2 reinforcements left over. So you probably wouldn't be reinforcing bottom warehouse if, you wanted to keep 1 in. Now let's talk about utility and point of this round. Now, a lot of the times people get both connector wall and the main wall, which is IT. So what you're going to want to be doing is possibly trying to bandit trick this wall. And with that being said, you might want to position somebody holding your swing. They can do that by playing in connector. You can maybe even play like a pulse below. Pulse is really good. And if you didn't know where below was, it's around cafeteria / the main hallway. and you can catch maybe somebody walking up for an easy C4 kill, either whether it's in meeting or if they get close in the main hallway. I would suggest bringing a Wamai or a Frost. Now, the reason why I say either or is because somebody's going to try to jump in an electrical window. So having Wamai discs to burn any flash grenades or, you know, frost mats, just so they have to force themselves to jump in and worry about, you know, the frost mats is very important, but you're not going to all want to sit in sight. So have somebody placed in rafters. I usually see a lot of people play a zombie in rafters, which can be very good. It's just you're going to have to worry about this jump in on the warehouse window, which you can easily contest by having a frost mat right there, of course. Make sure you place barbed wire on bottom warehouse. And I would, of course, suggest maybe having somebody playing downstairs below, lurking around this storage area, just maybe even that pulse, like I said, just for that information, because you can do so much by contesting below since everything is destructible. Now, in terms of operator selection, you're pretty free to bring whatever you want. I would always suggest in a zombie is number one, because a zombie is so freaking strong. Once you give up rafters control and you need to push back as a zombie, you can place some zombies all around the server, and it can be super hard for the attackers to take gunfights. And besides that, it's really up to you guys what operators you want to play and how you want to play it. I would just not give them the connector control right away. Just contest them as much as possible. And yeah, this is the proper site setup. Next up, we got kitchen slash cafeteria, which is a very underrated site. I actually like this so much. So starting off, let's talk about the reinforcements. You're going to want to reinforce the main cafeteria wall. I have seen people make a rotate on this right wall right here and extend in the lobby, but the majority of you players are not going to get competent teammates. So I'm trying to go as default as possible, but just keep in mind you are going to see that probably. Castle is very strong on this map because a lot of the times what people do is they'll try to drop this hatch, which if you didn't know, you have to run outside to get. But to contest that, you can castle off this pantry with a castle off the site window, and boom, you can play site. Now, what you're going to want to do is make head holes right here, just so you're able to watch the main, you know, hallway. You can watch the breach. The only problem with this is the main window. So you guys could technically flip it to this. Personally, I just like doing that, but, you know. On the other side, you're going to see that if I reinforce it, what angles you can get. The plus of this is you now get protection while playing this back B-bomb, which is very, very strong. Once again, just watch for that drone hole, by the way. But the problem with this is when trying to contest the main breach, you are going to have to swing out wider, and you can't play right here tucked unless you're just trying to have your entire body exposed. And it's going to be harder to play the main hallway angle. So it's really up to you of how you want to play that. Now, heading over to this single wall, you want to make it a head hole. Now, the reason why you're doing this is because if you jump over here, you can actually get an angle, and it just creates another line of sight. Now, I see a lot of people just reinforcing everything else off. Personally, what I like to do is make a rotation into lounge. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm able to retake site and contest them from taking map control. I would suggest barricading up the storage entrance so they can't get that control. Reinforcing off this single wall as well over here, just so that they're going to have to work more utility and waste more time trying to get map control. You can reinforce the side here if you want. Now, if you have that castle, you can castle off this vending window. Also, maybe place a beeper, barbed wire, anything that you have for this staircase, because they might try to lurk up really quickly. And if you do have an extra castle barricade or, say, a beeper, you can go ahead and either, one, just barricade this or castle barricade it. If you have a castle barricade, you can castle barricade this window and then throw another beeper or barbed wire for the blue staircase, or you can just barricade it. Doesn't really matter in this instance. Now, the reason why you would do all this is because now you can play main hallway and you can contest them. You can place a shield here if you have competent teammates and they're asking what you guys, you know, want to do. And then the reason why you would do that is because now you can contest the main lobby hall. You can play the slits of the castle, of the shield, not castle, I'm sorry. And you can actually contest and fight for the map control back. Now, if you're a roamer, I would highly suggest, one, at the start of the round, make sure that you go upstairs and right off the bat, first, at the start of the round, I mean, you need to reinforce this hatch This is the hatch that I was talking about in Freezer. You'll be safe. The only thing you need to worry about is if anybody's trying to rush from this lobby area, lobby stairs area outside. The spawns out there. So if you do have a teammate that can, reply to you, they can hold the rush from lobby. But at the start of the round, as a roamer, I would reinforce this connector, 2 walls. The reason being is that a lot of the times what happens is the enemies will quickly get this. And once they get connector control and they know all across this area is clear, then all they have to worry about is this guy that was jumping in from the meeting, getting the hatch. And now they have a lot of map control very early on. And what's going to happen here is they're able to play vertical play on, say, the main hallway, into sight. So as you can tell, it's very important to contest this map control. Once again, I'm kind of overloading you guys with information, but you can come back to this video and then try to, implement your own strats. I'm just trying to give you the most basic common takes that you'll see. And I know that I might be either a higher rank than you or maybe even a different region than you, but fundamentally, this is the most basic way I can explain this. Now, I would suggest if you want to reinforce this hatch or pop it, as you can tell, this leads you right back into the lounge area. But if you guys are going to pop it, you guys could technically extend above as a roamer and play this server area. And then once you get a few drones or, you're lit up or you waste enough time, you can fall back into sight and boom, you're back. Now, that was a little bit more complicated compared to any other map that I'll explain, but Nighthaven is a very strategy-heavy map, so just keep that in mind. Now, if you're wondering about where the windows are, or if you're playing in sight, you can make shotgun holes for the jump in. This is where I ran out. Now, if you leave this open, people will usually jump in this pretty quickly, and you get free frags. If you head over to this hole, sorry, I got it a little messed up. If you head over to this hole right here, you can get the other jump in window. Now, of course, this is just early round stuff, so just keep that in mind. But yeah, watch for that drone hole right there, guys, and watch out for that drone hole. People usually place claymores, and by people, I mean me. Next up, we have the map. Next up, we have the site control room / storage. This is probably the least played part of the map, but I feel like it is the most misunderstood. I played a little bit of comp recently, and I had this as one of my main sites. So downstairs in warehouse, what you're going to want to do is reinforce the 2 warehouse walls. This is a very important part of this map. So what I highly suggest is bring someone like Mute, Cade, Bandit, anything for denial for this wall, because if they get it too early on, then you might be a little bit screwed. Pop the hatch open. Be sure to make a reinforcement for the vending / lounge area right here. And then you can put a crouchable right here. The reason why you're doing a crouchable is so if they jump in the window, you are safe from anybody swinging, and you can get in a closer, nice little cover. Now, usually people reinforce this control area. Personally, I like to extend out. This isn't very default, but this isn't a site that's played a lot. So please just sit with me and I'll explain it. So basically what you'll be doing is you'll be extending all the way out into lounge and covering horizontally. The reason why you're doing this is because map control is the most important thing in Rainbow Six Siege, so it can be super freaking difficult as a defender to play defense when you gave them entire map control early on and you're just sitting in sight with, say, this reinforced and all of that reinforced. So we reinforce off lounge. Like I said before, castle is very strong, but you don't need castle. But if you were to bring a castle, reinforcing, castle barricading this hallway, throwing a beeper for this main lobby hallway, you can even barricade that double door if you want in the lobby. And basically, you're going to want to get some barbed wire or any type of utility for the cargo staircase. And from here, you guys can just reinforce these back walls. Or wall, sorry. And then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be extending upstairs. So this is where you have to let your mind wander with like what operators to bring. It's really interchangeable, to be honest. A zombie is super strong for upstairs. So I'm going to be making head holes and whatnot. And you can contest a lot of the map just from these angles. Also, if you have a bandit or something that's bandit tricking, you can play up in IT. But you're going to want to bring also more denial for these IT walls, because this is very important for the take as an attacker. Now, say in terms of operator selection, you can bring in a zombie, play rafters, or have one of your teammates play rafters, and you'll just be contesting. Now, you are going to want to reinforce these server walls as well, just because you're going to also be playing server as well. Now, a zombie, once again, to go back to what I was saying about a zombie can be very strong here as well if she gives you a zombie barrier, let's say around this area, and that will give you cover for the back server. You can also pop this hatch if you need to rotate back late in the site. Now, this does give them that line of sight for the hallway and etc, but shit happens. It's not that deep. That was a bad explanation. You can make a rotate right here, put a zombie barrier there, and now if a zombie needs to push back, she can push back and play these angles. This gives you an angle for IT, that's for electrical, this is for the head angle in the rafters, and then she can just fall back if needed. I would suggest having 3 people upstairs playing site. Just, yeah. And as you can tell, there is all of this that is destructible. Now, this is the fun part, and this is going a little bit too in-depth about these angles, but I want to help you get as much knowledge as possible. So if you really wanted to bring maybe someone like a pulse or something, that could be super effective, because even if you played downstairs late round, drop the hatch, that's warehouse, or just ran down the staircase, you can play every inch of this side, besides if they try to plant in this corner. And even if they plant in that corner, I think you can maybe even get a lob over there for that. But let's say they run into B site. If you have a C4 or you have cams, you can literally play below late round. So they're going to be contesting as attackers from the top floor, and they're going to waste so much time as long as your teammates stay alive upstairs, that to the point where they're not going to get a comfortable plant down here. Remember, you have lines of sight from everywhere. You literally just need your teammates to play it. You can also make vertical from below. If you want to swap up some reinforcements, by the way, because you have an idea of like what you want to play downstairs, you can reinforce this single wall, and then you can of course reinforce this double wall and play below late round. Now, this was a long explanation, so I'm super sorry if like I'm not going to say overstimulate, but if I made it a little bit more confusing than what it should have been. But this is a very complicated side of the map. Now, last but not least, let's talk about tank/assembly, which is one of the second most common sides of the map. So let's get on it. Right off the bat, you're gonna want to make feet holes right here. Make feet holes right here. Reinforce off this tank wall right here. Make some feet holes over here for bottom cargo stairs. It's really up to you what you want to do with this single wall, if you want to reinforce it or if you want to make feet holes. Usually I make feet holes. Reinforce this hatch unless you guys are extending above. And what I mean by extending is playing above and contesting map control. Reinforce this single wall as well over here in Anonymous. Head over to the other site, reinforce off these 2 assembly walls. And here's where it gets a little bit iffy in terms of like reinforcements. I'm going to quickly just make head holes here to explain the advantages and disadvantages of reinforcing these 2 walls. So first, make head holes here just so you can have an angle on Anonymous, but you want to also reinforce this, my fault. And then reinforce this wall right here. And then the last 4 reinforcements is really up to, or last 3, because I'm going to explain. If you want to make head holes or feet holes, right there, it doesn't matter. But basically, if you don't reinforce the left side wall, you're now able to, you know, contest anybody that's trying to swing in the breach. But the problem here is if they open up the wall and they're also pushing EXO, your back is against the wall. You're basically gonna have to prone and do all this other silly stuff. You can have this angle for the jump up, of course, as well, but you can have that on the right side as well. Having the right side reinforced, you're now covered to rotate back into sight, which is also a good thing. So it's really up to you what you do. Usually I personally just put a reinforcement here, and if there's a mirror, I place it here, but I've seen players do the other way around. So I don't really want to overcomplicate it. I just want to make it as simple as possible for you guys. So it's really up to you with like the goals. There's not the biggest difference, to be honest, besides if you put it right here, you're now able to vault over and then get cover, play this, and then, you know, boom. So Yeah. So in terms of map control and what you're going to want to do is, one, you do not want them getting exo. So you're going to want to probably reinforce exo hatch. You're also going to want to play this area. What I like to do if I have two roamers is, in their contesting storage, which is the vertical, I like to come up on vending, come up on this plant, and then watch any crosses for the main hallway, because those guys are going to be so tunnel vision working on focusing on my roamers above that I'm going to have, you know, the courtesy of getting free kills. Going back to this, you can, like I said, reinforce this hatch. And if you pop the hatch and you play above for late round, this could be pretty effective. Now, if you are roaming above, I would suggest making all the lines of sight possible. The good thing about this, having lines of sight on this, is if they try to jump in, the person that's in sight can shoot them and give you that information. This just also covers every default plant where they might try to tuck and plant. So, you know, of course you can play it. And you have lines of sight for literally everywhere, even the little tucked corner, which is super freaking common on this map, which is right here. Now, even if they go into A, the cool thing about this map as well is vertical is king on this map as well. So you can have every line of sight that's needed. I don't have enough shotgun shells, so just keep that in mind. Hopefully you have somebody else that's playing vert, and you can hold their walk in. You can play more closer angles as well. And yeah, so the good thing about this map is there's so much freedom to do whatever you want. I'm trying to give you a more advanced explanation of like why you do things, and basically this entire video, as I go through map by map, I'm trying to go into the mind of somebody that's trying to win in a team environment and also a solo environment. So I'm trying to give you guys options as well. You don't need to do all this. The head holes and vert holes aren't are optional, but they are a lot more advanced. So it's just giving you that understanding that you can do so much more with the map besides just reinforce everything off and then play in sight. Contesting map control is super important in Siege, because as you get into the higher ranks, players are going to be more advanced and they're going to be quicker with their drones, and they're going to be more communicative with their teammates, even in the solo queue areas. So yeah, that was Nighthaven, guys. Starting with kids dorms slash dorms main hall. First, make a rotation on kids. Make a head hole in trophy. Go and reinforce attic. Pop the attic hatch. Reinforce the right side trophy wall. You can also make holes above the trophy wall as well. Reinforce the kids wall right here on ping. Go ahead and make a tiny rotate on big window, being right here. Go ahead and make head angle slash rotate right here. Go ahead and reinforce the games wall. And the last few reinforcements I personally like to use for over here in armory side. So I like to reinforce this wall because they can get an angle or the long angle from just that wall. And then I make a head hole right here. And basically what I do is I play in armory and I can test the master balcony. I also have this popped and I can hear if somebody tries to jump in the window. If somebody goes to the door, I can also make a hole right here and contest them pushing in from there. A lot of people just give up trophy control and they don't actually play the head holes. They just make them. So just be aware that you need to play them. Next up, we got kitchen dining. Starting off, you're going to want to reinforce these main walls. Make a rotation in showers. Also make a head hole right here in between sites. If you make a rotation the farthest back, then you're able to be protected against this wall, which you can reinforce if you would like. You're going to want to go ahead and shoot shotgun holes in the floor right here, in the bottom I mean, and then reinforce the right side. Usually I play a shield like right here, and then I'm able to shoot at that window and contest them, and also contest bus window. If you want to make feet holes right here, you can as well, or you can make a rotate or reinforce this one and then make a rotate on the other side. It's really personal preference, to be honest. It's just now you can try to fight sight and get back to sight another way. A lot of people like to just reinforce all security off. Personally, I would suggest making a rotate so you're actually able to get back into sight. Put 2 reinforcements on kitchen and then make head holes for security as well. And then if you want, you can make a reinforcement right here on this kitchen wall. Basically, and you can reinforce the hatch, of course. Basically, this allows you to play both sites and contest both of them with the long angles that you made with head holes, have showers control, and just be able to play off of it. If you placed a mirror right here, it wouldn't be the worst. As long as you make this rotate swingable, so you're able to actually swing through. I haven't seen it done before, but I think you might need to put a shield here and then, or not make those footholes. I would make those footholes overall though. Maybe even get like a zombie barrier or something, or a shield for this 90 hull, and then you can contest the walk up for mirror. Next up, we got meeting kitchen. Starting off, you're gonna want to make a rotate on this side of the box, so you're able to not get shot from split. You make it right here, then you have no protection coming in back into B, so better to not have the rotate there. You're going to want to go ahead and make the rotate again in security head holes. Same exact thing, to be honest, as the last kitchen dining, just some tweaks. For example, you make the hole here and you can watch vertical for big window. Pop this hatch. You're going to want to play upstairs in kids. Pop that hatch, make head holes as well here. And then this will allow you to get a pixel peek on this door in the hall and then some of stage. Of course, reinforce these split walls as well. And then reinforce off the meeting walls right here. Or what you could do, and it's personally what I like, is to make feet holes along the side. And from there, you can really decide which one you want to reinforce. Like, for example, if you reinforce this, you can now contest this door. If you make the other one soft, you can contest the other door. And then the last few reinforcements is really up to how you and your teammates are playing. So a lot of people play upstairs, so you're going to want to reinforce the big attic, tower, attic walls. And this is just so they're going to have to waste a hard breach on these walls. If you have bandit or mute, you can mute this off as well from the inside of attic. Now, something that is also pretty strong is the holes that you can make right here and the holes that you can make for the walk-in. So if they do get this breach, you can contest them as well from below, even from deep into sight. I'm going to show you. Basically, you can just be protected and watch their walk-in. It's pretty effective, of course. And yeah, the last few reinforcements can go anywhere upstairs. It's all depending on how you and your teammates are playing. So for example, if I'm playing upstairs, I would definitely reinforce this wall off so I'm able to swing on the attic drop, which I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm now able to swing without being shot. And I would also reinforce these two main walls. And if I have one more reinforcement left over, I would, of course, probably place it for this wall right here. And that's because if I make a rotation in attic, it can't get wall banged from big right now. And then, of course, make feet holes if somebody jumps in. Last but not least, let's go laundry. First off, make the rotation on laundry. Make the head holes on the single wall so you can contest when they're coming down the staircase. You're probably going to not break all of it like I just did. Make a head hole there. I like to make a feet hole here. That's just because I can actually play if they try to take deep into boiler. Reinforce this wall on its left so you don't get wall banged through the staircase into sight. Meaning this staircase. Go ahead and reinforce this right wall. A lot of people play mirror on this. Go ahead and make a head hole on freezer right here. And then reinforce the left side. This allows you to have cover in sight and also contest the people coming down freezer stairs in a very highly effective manner. Now, head holes here, it really depends on how you're playing it. If you make head holes here, you can play this from a very deep long angle. But if you make head holes here, you can also have protection and swing them and then have a tight swing on laundry and not be fully exposed. It's really up to you which one you want to reinforce. If you're going to make a rotation and play elbow, then make a rotate on the left side, not the right. And then you're able to, of course, put a shield in there. I'm just going to reinforce this off because I'm not a big fan of playing that much anymore. But personally, there's nothing wrong with it. Last but not least, you're going to want to get the freezer hatch and the meeting hatch. These hatches are literally so essential. If you don't get them, then you're kind of trolling. So just go ahead and go upstairs and let's get the hatch. And let's head over and get the freezer hatch. And that's it. Okay, so let's talk about Outback. Let's start with piano and laundry. Now, I don't like Outback, but I can appreciate some of the strategies for this map. Starting out, let's talk about rotations, reinforcements, all that good stuff. So, right off the bat, go ahead and make a rotate. Now, the only problem with making a rotate right here is you are subjective to getting pushed from from the shark area. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. And if you make the rotation this side, then you can get killed from games, from bull, etc. So make the rotation in the middle if you can. Go ahead and put a reinforcement on this wall. Now, the reason why you're doing this is because, as you can tell, there's a window right there and you will get wall banged, and it's super annoying. Go ahead and put a reinforcement right here, just because the window that's behind it is right there. But I like to put feet holes here just because late round, if somebody gets up yellow and they push the hallway, there's another angle there have to be worried about. Go ahead and make head holes here. Go ahead and reinforce just beside it. Now, in terms of the head hole right there, if you're wondering, you can now play on top of this dresser and get an angle. You can also see 4 for the tucked. It is pretty common. Go ahead and reinforce off these 2 main walls, of course, on dorms. And if you have a zombie off this drone hole, if you're going to play on the hatch, you can reinforce it. Personally, I don't. I like to make this angle for yellow stairs, by the way. Usually, I just stay here tucked. Now, the only thing that's the problem there, if they know what you're doing and they repel right there, you're going to get killed. That's why the zombie is so strong. But this can be great late round if somebody tries to push up yellow. Head over to the showers area and reinforce either both the walls, or what I usually like to do is just to make head angles here. And that's just so I can contest. But it's been more common recently that people just reinforce that. But let's say you don't. What you could do is you can also make head holes on that quad wall, and you can hold the walk-in on picnic. I would suggest reinforcing both of these games walls as well, because they are pretty annoying for picnic. But if you really just only want to reinforce one and make some feet holes, you could. Now, this is a lot more advanced and team specific, but you can do that if you want to. But go ahead and reinforce that up. And then from there, your main idea should be to try to either one, make sure they can't get the ball by bandit tricking and all of that. If you have a zombie and you have somebody bandit tricking, you can a zombie right there, and then it'll cut off that window area, and that will give you more freedom to walk around site and be fine. Have somebody placed on top yellow, put some barbed wire or any type of utility on yellow staircase, and have somebody just playing at the very top here, just so when they open the breach or they open the window, you have a body here that can swing. On the flip side, you're going to want to have somebody in piano, probably playing around this bomb chassis area, just watching for anybody trying to lurk up. A Rooney is very good for this side of the map, so placing a Rooney gate on this piano door, maybe even on the double. And then last but not least, you can put the last one wherever the heck you want, to be honest. And shields here are very strong as well. If you have a shield, maybe place it around this area so you can actually confidently go in between sites and then play off the shield if somebody jumps in. You can also play a zombie barriers in showers, so you have more freedom to swing if needed. And yeah, if you want to have somebody roaming across the map, that's really up to you guys. But the main thing that you should be questioning is how they're pushing, and be ready to adjust off of that and not just play the same way and bait across the map. Next is party room / office. Okay, this is one of the best sites. Personally, better than the other dorm site in my opinion. First off, you can either make the rotation crouchable like that, or you can make it vaultable instead. Vaultable gives you more time to react if they get in garage, but it also is going to be harder for you to retake garage. So just keep that in mind. Go ahead and reinforce right here on the office supplies wall. Do me a favor and make this hole right here just for the window if they jump in for below. Reinforce off the main office supplies walls. Go ahead and make a rotation far right of party right here. And then go ahead and instead of reinforcing these quad walls, make a head hole here, guys, on 2 panels. You can do 1 if you want, but I like to do 2. And then from here, you can make head holes right there on party. Now, good thing about this that I like personally is you now have an angle for games that they're going to have to worry about if they push into it. Use somebody with a scope, ACOG, you know, you can contest them. Reinforce off the wall beside the rotation. Because the main areas that you're going to be playing is not in sight. It's actually going to be around sight. So making head holes into sight is fantastic. Make feet holes for shark for the staircase. Place utility on the bottom shark staircase so nobody can just walk up freely and not have to worry about you. Go ahead and reinforce these far right walls on the party. And then the last 2 reinforcements, or last 3, I mean, the 2 are going to go right here on the mechanical bull. So they're going to have to only push through that game's door, or they're going to have to thermite the wall, which a majority of players aren't going to be that smart to try to do that. They're just going to try to go for main wall. But if you're playing smart players and you know they're going to go for this bull area, you can actually go pulse and play downstairs below and get some easy frags from downstairs in the kitchen area. Make sure to pop the hatch, so if they try to walk up and sledge the far right, they'll fall down the hatch. And this doesn't really give you that many good angles, by the way. I was just seeing, just in case I might have missed it. Heading over to the garage stairs, put feet holes in the office wall and then reinforce right beside it. Now, the reason why you're doing this is now you can play tucked on the bomb chassis, and even if they're in garage, they won't be able to see you. I would suggest going frost if you're going to play garage. Place a frost mat on both windows, and you could place one on the ladder, but it'll just get shot from the windows. Make sure you have some type of utility on the garage stairs just so you have audio. And once again, the holes are good if somebody walks in. That should be their head. And you can also get some angles for deep A if you need. And then if you have a shield, since you are going to probably be playing frost, a good shield placement is right here. And then you can kill anybody jumping in, or, you know, just play your life behind the shield. Now, once again, you're not going to really want to be playing in the main A site a lot of the times, because if you just all bunker down in sight, they can just get so much map control and even open up this far wall, which you can stop by, you know, maybe putting some holes over here and you can see for them. But get another shield if you can, place it for this party hall, and then contest the people taking top shark and picnic. And then once again, you don't need to worry about your left side, because the person in sight will be playing this head hole. Once again, Valk Pulse, anybody would be fantastic for a party. Last but not least, oh, I almost said last but not least. Next, we have green bedroom / red bedroom. Mechanic, which is the last side we're going to be talking about. It's like, I really was going to chalk it up and not tell you, because it's one of the worst sites, but I'll explain it here in a second. Make a rotation right here on this far left wall. The reason why you're making it here is because when you go through it, you have cover. You can even place a shield right here if you want. Go ahead and shoot open the top on this. There is a way that you can get up on top of this fridge. I'm honestly not too aware of it anymore, so I'm not gonna attempt it. But reinforce these 2 walls, and then from here, what you're gonna want to do is go back over to this main wall that you made that you have, and you can go ahead and just make head holes into the wall. Now, what this is going to allow you to do is going to allow you to just extend around sight, and it's usually what you're going to want to do. I like to reinforce right here, just so if I run back into sight, I have cover. And then you can place more head holes if you wanted to. And then from here, what you're going to want to do is reinforce this left side wall right here, just so you have some cover. And even if they get into sight, they can't just, you know, shoot you, and you can reload and etc, etc. Main wall, you're going to want to reinforce and make hole over the top of the wall. I'll show you here in a second. Make some holes so you can see 4 over when they walk in. And yeah, this is usually site setup. You could reinforce right here on the rotation. Beside it, I mean, not on the rotation. And you should be covered in sight. And yeah, A lot of the times what I see people doing is going castle. They castle off this barricade. They castle off this motel reception area on this door. They castle off this double. And then they reinforce these back reptile walls, since you do have 3 left. And then from here, what you want to do is just play around this reptile area. Make sure that they just can't get the main control. Now, usually I see one more castle on this double door. What they do is they 8 hit it. Now, what that means is they punch the castle 8 times and they leave it to be 1 hit. So basically that means when you hit it, it's going to break and then you can swing and surprise your enemies. It's a very common thing that a lot of people do. Now, I would suggest the last reinforcement on the hatch above. And usually what I do is I place my body and get my friend to just play above with me. And we just try to contest as much time as possible. The reason being is because a lot of this site is hard to just play in sight, because what usually happens is people will just get vertical play and it's a pain in the ass. So if I do have 2 extra reinforcements, I will reinforce these walls. But from the strat that I just shown, you're not going to have any. So I like to just make holes like in the most common places where they're going to entry and try to get a free pick. I make rotations and whatnot upstairs just so I can rotate, of course, like that's it. As you can tell, you can have, you know, gun up here on picnic just for anybody walking in and on the double door. But, you know, the double door will be castled. So the only thing you have to worry about is this. And then, yeah, you guys can just play vert and then just play your lives. And once, if you can, rotate off, barricade up some barricades, and then, yeah, you just try to play your life here. That's how I'd set it up personally. Last but not least, we have the worst site possibly in Siege, which is mechanics/kitchen. Let me try to explain this. This site is, oh my god, horrendous. Anyways, so make a rotation. Personally, I like to make a head hole here and then maybe reinforce the middle, just so you have some type of cover. And then, as you can tell, this is all vertical play, and you play the vertical play upstairs inside party room. Now, if you want to commit your body upstairs, that would be fantastic. And what you guys can do is reinforce this back kitchen wall and pop the hatch. If you can get a castle, either castle this double door, castle this double door, reinforce these 2 back walls. And what you guys are going to be doing is basically just extending over for that bottom garage area. You do have to worry about waiting room. You can castle that off if you want, and then maybe place like a shield and just play for this area, because they are going to be contesting for probably kitchen, but they're going to probably go for that back wall. I would suggest, like I said, getting somebody downstairs, just holding around these bicycles. If you castle all this off, you have free range to just kind of walk around and retake the site. This isn't the best strat, but I don't know. I kind of just hate this hate this site. So I'm trying to just go with something that I think could work, especially because a lot of people don't know this side of the map very well. So like I was saying, upstairs in party room is where I thought the vertical holes were, but they're actually sitting in bowl. So as you can tell, you can have vertical on damn near everything from the wall. I would maybe suggest reinforcing these bowl walls, and then you can place a body up here, maybe 2 bodies, and just heavy extend above, because you can have vert on the entirety of A site, and I believe the entirety of B site, if I'm thinking right. Which, don't sleep on vertical play on the defending side, guys. It's something I see a lot of players not doing enough, is not extending. Now, there are some tucked areas, so I really would suggest bringing a bulletproof cam, just so the people that's playing above, they can get red pings on the person, or Z pings, or whatever, and they can just get vert on everything. Mostly, the reason why I'm also suggesting the vertical play is if the attackers get vertical play early on, then you're not gonna be able to win this round. Like, it's gonna be so difficult to play above. But as you can tell, you have vertical on literally everything for both sites. Now, this is the last site I would pick, but if you want to throw off the enemies and you and your teammates know how to play it, why not? Starting off with karaoke/tea room. Make a rotate right here for a top black staircase. Usually you want to place a shield beside the rotate, be sure to reinforce off the wall beside it as well. Now, I see people just making crouchable rotates, and that's fine, but I personally like making a vaultable. Now, the reason why is Geisha is the most common side of the map for attackers to take. So once they get all of this control, they now have to make audio and jump in instead of having to just crouch with their gun up. So you're more likely to win that gunfight, in my opinion. Make feet holes for, you know, what they call makeup room, but it's just for drum/geisha. Reinforce this single wall. Reinforce this other single wall as well. The reason why you're doing this is just so you have protection from the window, and so when they get the breach. Next, go ahead and make head holes right here, and then make feet holes for the staircase. Now, the reason why you're doing those two angles is because if they take this area and they try to push through, you basically have an angle from so many spots around site to get your frags, and as well as, you know, the staircase. Just make sure that you have some type of utility on the bottom of each staircase, because it can be a pain in the ass when people just walk up and fry you because they're getting early map control. Go ahead and reinforce this hallway wall. Something I have seen done a lot in higher ranks is making a head hole here, but we're just going to go ahead and reinforce both these mezzanine walls, just because it is so painful when, you know, the enemies get so much control and, you know, your teammates don't know how to play around it. So I'm trying to take into consideration that some of you guys might solo queue a lot. Go ahead and reinforce this VIP clearance, because you want to contest them horizontally. And what I mean by horizontally is, see how sight is not above me or below me, it's horizontally, it's right across the map. So a lot of enemies will clear the map from exhibition, display, and they'll slowly try to take map control. Personally, I like to reinforce off lounge, and then I like to reinforce off the double office walls. Now, if you want to place your reinforcements somewhere else because you don't want to play over here, that is completely up to you. Just let your teammates know what you're doing, and if they don't have mics, then that's honestly on them. But yeah, so you just want to contest the enemies from taking all this control early. Don't lose your life trying to contest them. Just keep pushing back as you shoot drones and whatnot. And the good thing about this is, if you place a shield right here as well, you can now contest their complete entrance here. And even if they get into Dragon, they'll have to walk up the staircase or jump in the window and take a losing gunfight against you. So I also like making head holes as well, just so I can retake T room if I need to, or just get multiple angles. Now, you do got to watch out for that karaoke rappel, because they can bang this single. So if you wanted to, you could maybe reinforce that, but that is just a suggestion. I'm also going to make some head holes just for sight. So for example, if I'm trying to retake from top black, I'm now able to take more gunfights as well. Now, of course, you do have the head holes, so you got to be a little bit eerie there. I see a lot of people reinforcing all of these walls. It's not really needed. I would suggest maybe this wall, so at least you have cover in sight. But now you're actually able to contest Geisha, contest the main stairs. Even like if somebody's in drum, you can take a swab at them. But yeah, this is how I usually set up Skyscraper. Let's head over to exhibition/office. Now, make a rotation right here. Holy fuck, bro. Okay, I don't know what this is, guys. Let's act like it's a rotate. It's not letting me like make a rotate. And then make a head hole right here. Reinforce the middle. Like, what the hell is this, bro? Now, the only thing about making a rotate here is you do have protection from the breach, but you don't have protection from the door, and you don't have protection from the split when you swing. So keep that in mind. Next up, you want to make sure you break this stupid radio. Reinforce off this lounge single. Reinforce off the main two walls. This is personal preference, what you guys do with this wall. I don't like reinforcing this wall because it gives them cover, but that is all personal preference. I do understand if you make this soft and make it a head hole, then they can just shoot you when they open the breach. But let's just rock out with it for a second, and let me explain why people do this. Now, even though you can get shot and it's a pain in the ass, and technically they could plant right there, You could now also play a little bit more aggressive right here, even right here. But this wall is very prominently annoying, and it's the main take for a lot of people. So what I like to do is make feet holes right here and throw C4s, impacts at them. Just do damage to the enemies if the wall is soft, and then just make their lives hell. I've seen people also put shields here and then play it, so just keep that in mind. People like to make head holes here just so you have an angle on the balcony. In terms of lines of sight angles, I like to make this angle right here, and then I like to make this angle right here. The reason why is now I can play sight, and then I can have control around the map, and then I still have cover with this one reinforcement right here and this next reinforcement right here. Now when we're top VIP, we can also reinforce this single wall because this is very important. I would suggest having utility on the staircase here, of course, and extending out and playing shrine. Now you guys can go ahead and barricade these barricades. If you have 2 of these extra reinforcements, you can reinforce these mez walls. I just do it because sometimes people like to play aggressive and take this control very early on, or wallbang, so it's a pain in the butt if you push up. Go ahead and barricade up this drum wall. If you guys can spare one of the reinforcements, reinforce this drum single, or what you could do is be a menace and play feet holes for anybody trying to enter through the single wall / going through the window. Basically, you want to play these angles that I've made. And the good thing about this, once again, these head holes, is you can even play from drum and play super aggressive for the run-in, or give the information that they ran in, and etc. If you really want it to be like a weirdo, you can make feet holes as well, and you can play the feet holes, and it's going to be damn near impossible for them to plant. And if they try to plant, you can easily just swing this head hole or C4. These are a lot of angles that's just going to make the enemies feel super pressured and anxious. So they're going to not try to push through this breach. And if they do, you guys have every angle possible. Unless, you know, your rotate doesn't work for whatever reason. Oh, it worked. Yay. Next is barbecue / kitchen. Okay, starting off, you're going to want to make a rotate right here into kitchen. You're going to want to make a head hole right here. Now, when I play this, I usually pop this hatch, but that's very uncommon for a lot of players. So if you want to go ahead and just reinforce that, go ahead. But what I usually do is I usually play upstairs with a bunch of holes in the floor for like the jump in on, you know, kitchen. And I completely like make vertical control all above in karaoke, just so I'm able to watch the walk-in in sight. Now that is not default once again, so I'm just going to show you what the default reinforcements would be. And that is just reinforcing these back barbecue walls, making a head hole along the sushi bar, and then you can make a head hole right here as well, reinforce off this so you guys have some protection. And then as you can tell, what you guys get out of this is you guys get more angles if they jump in the the sushi bar, if they jump in the back window over here. I would suggest also reinforcing off this single bathroom wall. The reason being, if they get this control, they can sit outside that window and hold a cutoff for a sight, and it's just super freaking annoying. So we're going to go ahead and just reinforce that off. Now, heading over to delivery, you can make these head holes, and let's see what these head holes look at. These head holes will give you opportunity to get anybody coming down the staircase or just coming down in general, and it's just another angle where you can, you know, pressure anybody jumping into restaurant, but I see people reinforcing this just for protection. This is personal preference, so if you want to reinforce it, go the heck ahead. Now, heading upstairs, what I was saying that I usually play is I usually play kind of a similar setup in terms of like what I do, except I make a rotation like this in a karaoke. I'm usually castle. As you can tell, I play a lot of castle. So I usually put a beeper right here, and then I put a beeper like right there in T, and then I castle off this window. I castle off this double window. I pop this hatch. I reinforce this wall, and then I reinforce off this wall as well. And then basically what I do when I play up here is I make all lines of sight for both sites, the rotation, etc. And what I'm able to do here is now control the majority of the map that is super, super hard to attack. Skyscraper is one of those maps that feels so frustrating to play. And the funny thing here is I can even get lines of sight for the hallway. So I'm able to control so much of the map just by playing above right here. So can you imagine trying to attack into this? They're just going to have to come upstairs and try to clear you out. So if you are going to do this vertical control hold, I would suggest either running a castle that's a little bit more aggressive, like placing castle barricade here, castling yourself kind of upstairs, and play off your beepers and play off the lines of sight. But when I did have teammates that played off of me, I made head holes for this wall. Sorry, since you can't have unlimited ammo in custom games, I can't really show you with shotgun, so I'm just gonna have to shoot the wall. But basically, you're able to get a long angle into T, and if they try to push out that area, you can act off that beeper and shoot them. Next up, and last but not least, we're gonna go bathroom / bedroom. This one's a very odd one, kind of annoying to attack, kind of annoying to defend, but let's see what we can cook up here. So right off the bat, you're going to want to reinforce these two bathroom walls. This side of the map is super awkward just to defend, to attack, everything. So I don't see a lot of you guys playing this side of the map, to be honest. So the problem with this site is this window right here. It's super prominent, super annoying. So you can either reinforce this off and play head holes. I've seen people not reinforce this and just make head holes in general. You can also make head holes for just the direct site as well. And you wouldn't be playing a lot of A site, you'd be playing a lot of B. But if you do have somebody playing around the bomb chassis, you can. And basically what you want to do here is in the closet area, I like to just reinforce this and then make feet holes. So if somebody walks in, I usually have some type of utility like barbed wire, beep, or whatever, and then I can just pre-fire it. And it's more or less just for ghost pressure, which ghost pressure, sorry, my voice, is basically just like anxiety. It's basically thinking what if the person's there, you know? It's more of that. So the person can play the bomb chassis and then they can play that, and they can also play for, you know, double and all of that. Or you can really flip these two around if you wanted to, the reinforcements, and you can just play safe for A-bomb, and then, you know, you can swing. It's really up to you how you want to make that. You can do either or. Now, you need to play above for this site. So you need to reinforce off the single wall up here, the office double, and you can play so much vertical play, like literally all of this floor from the entrance to the A site to some of B. That's the problem though. That's why you need somebody playing inside of B, because a lot of the floor in that site isn't bangable, but you can make it work while playing with a shield in that site. So if you have a friend that's like nice and passive, who can play their lives well, get them to play inside B, because these angles don't really stretch as much as you want them to. Like, kind of sucks you can't play vert on them, but as you can tell, like, I can get the angle for the window right here. I think I can get a better angle if I'm all the way over here in the exhibition. Yeah, I do. I get a straight on angle. You can also get an angle for main lobby, for the walk-in on the door, and yeah, you guys can play all around here. Now, it sucks the beams kind of change, like when you come over here. As you can tell, they're a little bit more vertical. So they're a little bit sillier, but you can do that like a lot of map control just playing up here. So castle is always good, by the way, on this site, on this map, I mean in general. So keep that in mind. But yeah, you need at least one person maybe playing like a shield in this corner or in the tub. It doesn't really matter, because the person that's in the tub can also watch the lobby door. They can watch just main house lobby. They can watch the closet walk in. They can watch the bathroom if they go deep. So if you want to flip these reinforcements, there is positives and negatives of both. By the way, if you're playing above, you can pop the hatch and then you can get another entry back in the site. But just know that there's a lot of people that say reinforcements should only be one way on certain maps, but there's positive and negatives to both. Of course, you do have this cover now, and you can play a little bit safer and you don't get wallbanged in bathroom. That's why I was suggesting this as well, is because now you're free to rotate back into site. But the person that's in A, they're not going to be as safe, right? Okay, starting with initiation / office. You want to start off with making a rotation on the Kafe. Making another rotation in between sites. I would suggest placing a shield just so you're safe when rotating. Reinforce these single wall right here beside the rotation. Make head holes in this wall. Make another head hole in the cache wall right here as well. Reinforce beside the head hole. Reinforce both these yellow walls. Make a rotation in the vault wall right here, and then reinforce the top cafe wall, and then reinforce the wall that you just made a rotate on. The reason why you're doing that is because it's easier to do that besides running to cafe. So it's a lot quicker to do that. Heading over to B site, you want to reinforce these double walls, and then make a head hole on this control wall, and then reinforce right here. Now, if you have mirror up, you can play mirror on this to face control. It'll be super hard to take control area. Go ahead and reinforce this double initiation wall. And then the last reinforcement is really up to you if you need to use it. Pop that hatch, so if they swing, you might win the round because they drop. And then head over to this blue room and break open this wall. The reason why, if you leave this open, it can literally place a thermite charge if it's not open, and it will open all the vicinity, even if there's cave claws and bandits, because thermite charge in like it has a crazy radius. I would pop this hatch. I like to extend, so I like to roam over this area and contest them. So I make a rotation there. I make a head hole right here. I usually reinforce beside the head hole, so I'm able to actually play daycare. And I also usually get somebody to come over here and play it with me, whether it's a teammate or like a random. It doesn't really matter, as long as your teammate can do it, your friend, whoever. And basically, you just want to waste as much time while staying alive, and then push back once you get enough drones, and all the utility that you have should win you the round. Now, I would suggest operators like Aruni, Valkyrie, any type of wall denial, whether that's mute. Definitely bring a mirror if you can for the wall, and the second mirror would go right here for cache. And it's really up to you who else you would need. Think outside the box. Don't be scared to, you know, try something new. Next, let's go over to dunk. I said dunk. Oh my god. Bunk / daycare. I'm just gonna leave that in the video. If you guys heard me say that, let me know down in the comments. Oh man. Okay. So starting off, you want to make a rotation hole into sight. Now, if you make a rotation right here, then they have a direct line of sight in the site. So if you want to make the rotate right here, because then you have cover to actually use the rotate. So don't use this rotate. Don't make a rotate, okay? Put a head hole right here in a bunk, or I mean daycare. Head over to the same upper arcade area and make the same hole. Now, I would suggest reinforcing off this single wall, because if they repel on the break room window behind me, they can get a long angle and cut off most of sight, and it's just super freaking annoying. Go ahead and reinforce both bunk walls here, and then head over to the yellow wall. Once again, pop the hatch. Head over to the yellow wall and go ahead and reinforce off these yellow walls. Now, you might see people making a rotate here and extending in. So if you're interested in doing that, go ahead and try it. Then go ahead and reinforce off office, like vault. And then if you play this, then usually what people do is they make head holes here. Gotta wait to reload again. Then they usually make a reinforcement on beside the head hole. And then they reinforce this off. And the reason why they're reinforcing off this is, as attackers, when they get this control, if this is soft, this gives them a direct angle into sight, and it's super annoying. So you're limiting that. But yeah, basically when you extend out like this, it gives you the opportunity to have long angles and multiple angles to contest them from taking map control. Of course, reinforce all two of these back walls actually. This isn't very default, so some of your teammates might get mad, but personally I like to make a rotate in here just for late round, just in case if I do have to rotate. It is pretty helpful. Next, let's go to throne / armory. Okay, so reinforce off the back throne walls. On this site, I would highly suggest a Cade and a Mew, or a Cade and a Bandit, just because, or like a Bandit or a Mew, whatever, just 2 wall denials. The reason being is because all these walls are heavily important for the round. So you got to make sure that you guys are contesting as much as possible to make sure they don't get these walls. Another good operator for this site is a zombie. This is one of those sites where you can bunker down. So placing a zombie there to cut off any of the swings. You can place a zombie barriers even on the throne, in the middle of the pillar. Like, you can do a lot to cut off the angles. Make sure you get that split hatch that I just pinged, because if you don't get that, they're gonna have a crucial part of your defensive being. Like, they'll literally cut off every single rotation that you have. So after that, after you reinforce all 7 of those walls, including the hatch, you'll have 3 reinforcements left over. Now, what I like to do is I like to reinforce this, because if they get bottom dragon control, they can have a long angle in the sight. So I just like them not having the opportunity. So I just go ahead and reinforce that. And then the last 2 reinforcements is really up to you guys and what you plan on doing as, for example, roamers. Make sure you make feet holes right here, just so when you're playing the furnace area, you're actually able to, you know, get an angle and possibly smoke them. If you're a zombie, I would highly suggest also placing a zombie barrier right here so they can't get the pixel angle, because if you didn't know, on this little split you can get this pixel and it leads right back into throne where a lot of people play. So you're cutting that off, and then you can also place one like right here, and that will make it so they have to prone or crouch when they swing, and they're not going to be ready for that until they're actually here. They're going to be already swung and they're going to be like, what the heck? So then they'll have to like either prone, or they'll have to have their crosshair placement super low. So then you can have that perspective and you can shoot their feet very easily and get that frag. Besides that, guys, I would suggest if you're going to reinforce anything else, you can reinforce off this wall right here. The reason being because they can wallbang you in barrels. Suggestions in terms of roles, I would really suggest just bunkering down as much as possible, bringing that a zombie, bringing that denial, and then maybe having 1 or 2 roamers, and then get them to play off each other, and if they can, rotate back to site. But besides that, anybody else that can have C4s would be super helpful, because C4ing over these is super good. Watch out for this drone hole as well, because I like to put claymores there and sometimes get kills. Last but not least, let's go to lab / storage. Okay, now this is the worst site on the map. I don't know why you would go to this site unless you're trying to throw off the enemies, but make that rotation, make that head hole. Now, what I would personally do is try to extend into 90 possibly. So reinforce off these barrel walls. And what you would be doing is you would actually have somebody play arcade plat, which means this area right here with a shield. Place a shield right here. Basically, you can contest if they jump in barrels, bottom arcade, or if they go top arcade, whatever. And you would have another person playing above, being either, it doesn't really matter, just whoever playing inside Kafe. And from here, you can watch some vertical. Now, my favorite vertical, which you can use this angle anytime you're even playing Kafe, is you can watch the jump in on bathroom or showers, whatever you want to call it, or toilet, and you can shoot them from jumping in. So that's highly effective and you have that cover. But basically, you're just going to be extending out as much as possible. So what I like to do is I like to put head holes in this as well. And then I'll also make head holes horizontally in throne. And you're probably sitting here like, what the hell is this guy doing? It doesn't seem very default. But the thing is about this side of the map is there's going to be one way these guys usually take it, and that's going to be jumping in sight window after they get bathroom control. So most of the time I'm just going to try my best to just contest them as much as possible. The reason I barricaded that, by the way, is just so I had audio if they jumped in. And basically from here, what I would be doing is trying to focus just contesting throne and all this. Castle would be good because you can castle this. And then if they jump in, you know, they have a gunfight. If they shoot down the barricade, you hear them. And then what personally I would do is make that like a rotation / head hole right there. But then also you can make this a head hole and contest them in the hallway. You could also go over into sites and place some head holes in this wall and then reinforce off this wall right here so you have some coverage. Maybe even place a shield right here on the 90 so then you can contest them from jumping in, and then you can just retake site if you need to. Now, I came up with this strat basically when I did this Macy J video about how Macy J said to reinforce like head holes and all this, and I just came up with a strat where you don't reinforce, so I just added in some reinforcements right now. But having somebody even playing bottom yellow with a shield and then barricading up this single door, and then you can reinforce off these double walls, and they would just basically have to force into the castle's angle from barrels, like going dragon door, or they would have to come lockers, and basically you're just being contested from a bunch of different areas. And then, you know, you would just get maybe one person to play site, and if that person in site gives you comms that, you know, that these guys are trying to jump in the window and plant, then they can either play behind the bricks of Yayo right there, or they can play tucked here and just give that comms. And honestly, they should have the winning gunfight here. Bringing frost would be good here because you can put the frost mats on the jump in and for the bathroom as well, for toilet. But this is the least favorite part of the map, so I wouldn't suggest going this side of the map. But if you want to have fun, try this strat out. I really enjoyed playing it. I don't really like playing Siege where you're only playing default site setups most of the time. So in this video, the least favored like sites, I will be just cooking up some silly strats. And even if they're not the greatest, they're definitely fun to play. Okay, so starting out with games room / aviator, go ahead and reinforce vault. Make a rotate right here. Make head holes right here. Make head holes here. This is something I see almost every single rank doing, and that's reinforcing this completely off. Let me explain why you should never reinforce that. Because when you reinforce that, you give them the freedom and possibility to take study control 10 times easier. Because as an attacker, I'm going to be pushing through this door, and if this head hole's here, there's 3 different angles that I need to worry about. There is close, there's vault deep, there's the rotation, there's the head holes right here, and then I have to worry about top main, books, etc. So taking inside study is going to be so much harder if this is head holes. And to go one step further, I'll show you something in a second. Let me just reinforce. Make feet holes right here on games. Make more feet holes right here. Now let me show you something. You can either reinforce this wall right here, kind of like what I did right there, or what you can do is just make a tiny little head hole, or even a head hole right here, and you're able to hold study window just from this area. Now it's very common that people push 90 side over, so you can just reinforce this if you're not in a 5 stack. But after you make all those holes, reinforce everything that I just showed, let me show you what else you have to make. Make the holes for main stairs, and this will help the person that's playing top main not have to worry about someone on bottom main, because whoever's playing in sight can now hold this angle for the main walk up. You can also hold more angles, for example, on the library door right here. You can hold even deep living room. Now, these are a little bit chaotic and random, so you don't need to do this one that I'm doing, but it is another angle that you can hold. Now, if you don't want to get wall banged, you can reinforce this wall right here. And then you have cover. And then, of course, what you should be doing is contesting red stairs with some type of utility like barbed wire or whatever the heck you want to put here, beepers, lesion mines, etc. Make sure to shoot the glass off 90 window, just so you get audio if someone's pushing up. And the rest of the reinforcements really up to you. If you want to cut off the deer window wallbang, you can, or the 90 wallbang, you can reinforce right here, because now whoever's in statue can't just wallbang 90. So that reinforcement's good. But besides that, your main objective will be to contest 90, have somebody top main, basically don't bunker in sight, and then have utility for main stairs and for the walk-in on study. Because if they get study control early on, you're more likely to lose the round. A lot of teams will flip to a 90 push, which means they're going to go from this side of the map over, and they're not going to worry about study balcony, besides maybe placing one body. So that's why the utility on red is definitely needed, and you can play this however the heck you would like. Next up, we got statue / trophy. Okay, so starting off in trophy, make a rotation as close to the wall as possible, just so they have the least amount of angles. Next, make a hole for Astro staircase. You can basically watch anybody coming up, even from all the way back here. Now you are gonna have to worry about the split angle. Make a hole right here, just so you can watch anybody rotating bottom red. Make a head hole here, and make a head hole right here for closet. Reinforce off the middle, and then reinforce beside it. Basically, this allows you to contest them, just like you were doing in study, just so they can't walk in side master and then get obvious control. Make sure to shoot the glass out the window. Put some barbed wire on Astro stairs. Reinforce the middle of this closet wall. And then this is really up to you, but I would suggest this. Reinforce off the left side of the closet, just so if they jump in, they can't wallbang whoever's playing bathroom. And then pop the hatch just in case you're playing it and need to contest. Make sure you have utility on red, and then make sure you have utility for deer, aka the walk-in. Reinforce off the middle, and then the right side is more team preference. So I've seen teams do head holes here and then, you know, contest from way back. And there is disadvantages and advantages of this. There's one, you can play these angles from a deeper line of sight. And if they have astral control, you can contest them. But if they have the same angles that you have. So if you want to reinforce this, reinforce this. I personally like to pop this astro hatch as well, just so I can either rotate or, you know, get somebody coming up the staircase. Now, what I like to do is put a shield on bricks, which is right here, and then get an ADS or Wamai, or if I'm Wamai, I can put Wamaitis, and I can basically just burn the utility and contest them. You get this pixel peak for closet as well. Now, if nobody's going to be playing over from study, go ahead and barricade this map's door. Now, the reason why you're doing that is so you're actually able to hear if they're shooting down the barricade or punching it, right? Instead of them just being able to walk up. Now, if you barricade up the far door in the maps, you might not hear it. So just keep that in mind. Next up, let's go to living room / library. Now, this is a very uncommon site, but it can be pretty good actually. Starting off, what you're going to do is make a rotation, into the gallery / the little vault area. Just call it gallery though. Now, I've seen teams make rotations in the 90, and what they usually do is they play a body here in this 90 area. Now, if you're going to do that, which honestly I would suggest it because this is one of the most uncommon sites to play in, so it's going to really throw off your enemies most of the time. I would play here in piano, make rotation, make another rotation right here for the R90, aka red 90, and then of course you can go ahead and even if you want, make head holes here just for whoever's in sight. You can get somebody back here maybe playing a shield, and they can contest anybody walking through art. Basically, this is just a heavy extension, which it can go wrong if you don't have the right placement of your body, but majority of time you're not going to be playing this side of the map, so it's really not a big deal. I'm just showing you guys an example of, you know, what this strat could be. Now, you guys can, of course, make a rotation here and also make feet holes right here. Now, a good thing about this site is that you can play heavily extended, and that's going to be the way that you're going to have to play it. So let me go ahead and just reinforce off these living room walls, which, to think about it, let's just have some fun, low-key. Let's say that we made a rotation right here. We put a shield for this, and now you can contest their walk up from kitchen. You have your teammate sitting over there for piano, and you would also get somebody to play their body around kitchen / memo, or you guys can just either barricade this or reinforce these two double walls. But let's say we don't do that. Let's just reinforce it. Now you reinforce that, and then basically your main objective here would to be really just play it outside of sight for the majority of people. Say if they jump in the bathroom, you have an angle. Basically, you're just here to watch the 90. You have somebody around the piano side watching either the art walk in, the art window, or for example, if they try to walk in the front door, you have an angle. It would be good to reinforce this wall right here, and then reinforce this wall right here. And then maybe even get somebody playing top main with a shield on the plat. So basically you just have everybody watching all the common entrances. And if they go to play vert, then they're not really going to find very much people. And last but not least, let's go kitchen / dining. Which personally I think is the best site on this map, but that's all personal preference, I guess. First off, make a rotation right here. This is very universal. So no matter what rank you go into, you should never be just reinforcing this completely off. Now reinforce in the middle, reinforce this pantry single. I would suggest making holes right here just so you can throw a C4 over. And then these holes that's going to be on this double wall is really depending on how your team plays it. Personally, like, this is good because you can watch if they walk in, and then you can reinforce this left wall. You can make feet holes right here as well. The reason why you're going to be doing this is because now you can have another angle watching them walk in. I like to make a rotation right here as well, just so I can retake memo if needed. Reinforce off the two memo walls right here, and then reinforce off this memo wall right here just so you have cover. And then personally, if you want to reinforce this right wall, go ahead. I don't mind making it soft sometimes, just so if they jump in the closet, I can have an angle on them. But yeah, you can reinforce this off. And then you can also make holes right here. A very weird little like area. But basically, you can have somebody playing red late if they're roaming and just contest. And the last 4 reinforcement is really up to you guys. If you want to go upstairs and extend and contest them, that is a very effective way of playing this map, is playing upstairs in Master. And just basically doing the same strat that you were doing for Deer, making head holes, and then reinforcing off both of these walls. And then from here, I would really suggest reinforcing off the hatch. Because when the attackers get this side of the map late, they're going to have to either funnel through the door here in laundry, or they're going to have to waste time opening up the hatch and wasting utility. So it's kind of a win-win overall. But some things I would suggest while you're playing in sight is making holes for the window jump in. As you can tell, where the single wall is where that is. You can also make a hole by the China door. You might get wall banged, but you can watch it as well if they jump in. You could technically make holes for this as well, but I doubt they're going to jump in that window, or you're going to be playing for that. And then you can also make holes right here for the closet. Just a few holes, nothing too insane. Some people might just be ADS and they won't notice that there's a hole here. But yeah. So yeah, this is how you defend the site setup for Villa.